What is up, everyone? Welcome back to the podcast after a long, unintentional hiatus. It's been about 8 months since the last episode. I just double checked. It looked like June of 2021 was the last episode of the podcast. And that was right at the beginning of the Rotiform Always Broke trip and the move 1,200 miles away to Chattanooga, Tennessee, which is where I'm recording now. Before we get into this episode, just wanted to kind of glaze over that. Really miss you guys. Many of you guys have been sending me messages on social media asking if I was done with the podcast. All those messages were definitely motivational. Super happy that you guys were listening in the first place and actually recognized that I had kind of let it slip through the cracks. So here we are. If you're watching on YouTube, this is the beginning of the visual studio that I'm putting together here. Super excited about this. Aidan and I talk about this a little bit since he just so happened to be here while I was putting this whole thing together. He actually helped me get the table and also helped me get the booth set up into my house. But here we are in Chattanooga, Tennessee. Wanted to give you guys a quick update. The discount code on bagriders.com is still live. If you use code LUDWICK'S, LUDWICK'S at checkout, you'll get a discount on all of your air suspension or beyond needs from their website. As well as I finally started a Patreon page. This is something that I had been battling with, certainly battling with like an imposter syndrome over Patreon. Having played music for most of my life and having been a professional BMX rider, I understand what these pages can be used for, but I was very hesitant to start one just because I didn't want to undervalue what I'm doing for everyone else who would subscribe. I wanted to basically deliver my best and be there with everybody with the growth of that whole page. So that is live. That is patreon.com/John Ludwick. There should be a link in the video's description or in the description of this podcast. A handful of you guys have already signed on, and I cannot thank you enough. These episodes will be going live first on the Patreon and then onto the platforms publicly from there, as well as you guys will have early access to any of the merchandise drops and also news on the automotive projects. And there has been a lot of automotive news that I haven't talked about publicly yet that's already on the Patreon. You guys know what the plan is for the E24 635 CSI that's now at my buddy Sutton's shop in Northern California. There's more to that project than meets the eye. Really excited about what we're going to be doing there, hopefully in the next couple months, as well as a new acquisition project that is also out in California that should be getting shipped out here next week that I'm hoping, fingers crossed, I have done in time for Alpine Volks Fair in Helen, Georgia next month. That's all I've got to say here. Please welcome Aidan Templin back on the podcast. You guys asked for it. This was by far the best podcast episode I'd done as far as views were concerned and as far as comments and feedback was concerned. And since he was going to be in town for Riverside 7 here in Chattanooga, I had to make sure I got the studio up and running in time for him to be on here. And it was a monumental effort with everything we had going on. But I just want to thank all of you guys for all of the continued support, even throughout the hiatus of the podcast, with the growth of the YouTube channel and the Patreon page. I can't thank you guys enough. Super excited for what the rest of 2022 has in store. Without further ado, here we go. Aidan Templin back on the podcast. Thank you guys. This is the beginning of the podcast studio I've always wanted. I've wanted a corner booth like this. I wanted like a pizzeria style, on location, on site type studio space. I'm joined by my good friend Aidan, who if you're watching on YouTube, you've already seen him. But him and I went and got this table just a few days ago. He's in town for Riverside 7, which was just yesterday, which we'll obviously talk about. But we're slowly getting it together, or it will be a slow process. It's been quick in the last week. We painted this wall in this room in the house.
It was a race.
It was a complete race. Yeah. We were at Import Alliance in Atlanta last weekend, and I'd found this corner booth on Marketplace in Marietta, which is basically between Chattanooga and Atlanta. And when I messaged the guy at the beginning of the week before IA, he was out of town until Saturday, and I was the 20th person in line. So I thought, well, for what it's worth, I'll be in Atlanta with my truck on Saturday, and I'll be driving back to Marietta. So let me know if I become first in line. So he gave me a shout at the show, basically said, hey, are you still interested? I said, yep. And we made it happen. Big shout out to John Bud Capozzi from Capozzi Pizza
the boy.
In Marietta, Georgia. If you are in that area, go hit him up. My girlfriend's from Long Island, New York, so she is a critic of pizza in the South, claiming to be New York pizza. The second I spoke to this gentleman on the phone, I knew for sure he was from New York. Yeah. And we went and enjoyed a few slices when we picked the booth up, and it was New York as New York could get in the South. So huge shout out to John. Really appreciate his call, weeding through the people, and got me involved in getting this thing. So
that Ludwig luck.
Oh, man.
That Ludwig luck.
Sometimes I wonder if it's still a thing, and yeah, this happened pretty well. And the table is not going to be the permanent table, but we got something that fit in this corner booth well. If you're only listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or wherever, and you get a chance to get over to the YouTube channel, one, subscribe to the YouTube channel, because it's not just the podcast. I'm doing a lot of the automotive stuff there as well, but you get a chance to kind of see the beginning. This is the first episode of the beginning of this podcast studio.
In the South.
Chattanooga, Tennessee.
In the South.
In the Smokies. So
in the Smokies. I
designed and laser cut this wooden sign behind us. This may stay, it may not stay. I want to get this whole thing looking like we're on site at like a pizzeria. So I want to get some plaques of some of my past like magazine features with some of the cars up, almost like newspaper clipping type style, just to kind of make it look like, yeah, we're anywhere but a room in this house, basically. Also, the audio acoustics are going to be worked on. As I moved everything out of this room, the acoustics dropped right to the floor, and there was an echo in here again. So what you can't see in frame is another mattress, some couch cushions, stacks of shirts. I just clogged into the corners in this room to try to tighten up.
Sleeping bags.
This room doesn't have a door on it, and I've got a box spring laid up against the door so we can like tighten this room up as best we can for the audio.
With what you got.
Being a musician and having a recording studio, like a home recording studio, audio is like, I'm a nerd about audio, and the walls in this house are real thin, and so it'll only get better from here. I'm looking forward to tightening this place up. But all that being said, want to give a huge shout out to everybody that's been supportive in buying merchandise or just having words of encouragement on Instagram or YouTube since the move, or just in general. I started the Patreon page back about a month ago, and about a dozen of you guys have signed on to that. That has completely floored me. The fact that you guys have wanted to come on board there and help build this brand more, build the YouTube channel more, get more projects in. There is a new project. I don't want to take too much time away from Aidan and I talking, but I did sell my Toyota Century back about a month ago.
She gone.
It's gone. It's back. I said it's back in California. It's in California, back on the West Coast, I should say. And that was kind of a difficult move, but got the car sold and have already acquired another car that is in California. Going to try to get that back here and get that finished for Alpine Volksfair in Helen next month. Have about 5 or 6 weeks to get that done. Have not publicly talked about what that car is yet, but if you're on the Patreon, you know what it is and you've seen the photos. Super stoked on that.
It's a hitter.
Aidan knows. I'm excited. Real excited. And so good. I'm crawling out of my skin to get that car here to Chattanooga. I thought about driving it. She's not a new car. Not a new car at all. So there's a lot of unseen variables.
It might as well be, though. The condition.
Very true. Yeah, very true. I'm real excited to show you guys the new project. Mild plans for it. It's going to be a quick build and take it to a bunch of shows and then make
get it in, get it out.
Yep. And then sell it, get it available to one of you guys. And yeah, it's fun, but I'm super excited about that car. So more info on that soon. Yeah. The Patreon is in the link in this video or in this podcast description if you guys want to go over there and come on board and support in that way as well. But here we are, Chattanooga, Tennessee. Aidan Templin.
We're here
on the second episode.
Yep, we're back
with you.
Just over a year later.
The people asked for it.
I know it.
And we answered.
Literally every other week, someone's like, yo, it's like my third time listening. I need a new one. And I'm like, John's so far away.
You were one of the last episodes too.
Yeah.
I don't remember if it was the last episode. I think I had a few solo ones after the Rotiform trip last summer, but
maybe the last with a
guest. Yeah. I think you were one of the last episodes last summer
in a hotel.
Yep, here in Chattanooga.
Yeah, here in Chattanooga, and now we're here again.
That's right. So it wasn't on the calendar. It wasn't an exact year ago because Riverside was earlier in March last year. But
event wise,
it was this time last year. So you came down from Virginia,
Yep.
brought the scooter,
Yep. I brought the scooter.
but you came down a week prior
Yeah, Sunday.
and spent a whole week in my shop
Yeah.
here detailing Mason Gavin's.
I put 40 hours worth of work into Mason's E36 paint and some other miscellaneous stuff.
Talk about that car.
In
Like,
3 days.
talk about that car. It's a pretty cool car.
So it's a 95 Japanese spec imported 328 M-Tech coupe Titan Silver on black. And yeah, I mean he whipped it together within like 2 weeks. He manual swapped it, ZF.
Yeah, it was an automatic.
Yeah, it was automatic.
ZF swapped it.
Yeah.
Yep.
OZ Futuras, best wheels ever made.
Yes, and shout out to Matt Scud for opening his doors up to his shop. They knocked that manual swap
Quick,
out because
yeah.
the first swap was it a 6-speed that they tried first and it didn't work out.
I think he said he had a 6-speed, but then
Drive shaft length wasn't right.
They're two-piece drive shafts. And
That's right.
They're interchangeable. You got to get the right ones to fit.
And they were trying to get
right
it done within a week for
Yeah.
Riverside. This was last weekend they were doing this.
Yeah.
And luckily,
This is before it was like the day before I was coming down. He's like, yeah, man, like I think we're gonna go on the first test drive. I'm like, well, I hope this thing's good because
Yeah.
I gotta work on it.
yeah, it's got to be to my shop.
Yeah, literally, I was like, I hope it drives.
Yep.
But yeah, that car was disgusting. Like it didn't look like it, but it was. And I explained a few times over the weekend to a few people I was talking to that I've always heard people talk about, when it's time to clean an imported car from Japan, they always talk about the Japan dirt. And I'm always just kind of like, yeah, okay, whatever. Like, because people hype up like, oh, it's from Japan, Japan. And
Yeah.
they're like, if there's dirt, they're like, oh, it's Japan dirt. And I'm like, yeah, okay, dude, whatever. Like, clean it. But it's real.
Yeah,
it's
is real.
I'm here
Yeah.
to say Japan dirt is real, and it sucks. That paint was disgusting.
Yeah.
Especially, I think you saw behind the license plate.
Yeah,
'Cause,
that
I
hadn't
mean,
been
that's
off.
that's always dirty. Don't get me wrong, but it was brown stain, and that was all over the car, but obviously lesser. But I guess it's just the pollution there, and it just bakes into the paint. And the car had been repainted.
Yeah, that's right.
I don't know how
'cause-
long ago.
So well, I guess to go back on the manual swap, real quick, another shout out to Russell Burke, a friend of ours in Nashville, who had that 5-speed ready to go.
Yeah.
So he had that 5-speed swap for one of his projects and basically sacrificed it for Mason to put that in. And once they got that done and got it here, and you got started on the car, that's when you started looking at all the paint and kind of getting like a game plan together as to what you were in for.
Yeah, because I mean, normally when I have a car dropped off with me, it's a week. It's 60 hours. Like I'm going in on it. Like it's that type of work. But yeah, I mean, he had that lineman appointment Thursday morning at 8 a.m.
At Perry's shop. Yeah,
at
Quick
Perry's
Efforts.
shop.
Yeah.
And then he had the E36 meet lined up and the 90s meet. So like he wanted to enjoy the car from Thursday onwards.
And you showed up Sunday
night.
You got started on Monday.
Yeah. And I was like, okay, I have 3 days. And realistically, I had Monday, Tuesday, and then like I really only had like half a day Wednesday because I had to code it because he had to drive it home that night. So really 2.5 days, I had to do 40 hours worth of work on it, which I mean, I did it.
Yeah. I mean, you grinded because the prep work I had to do to vend the show for LUDWICK'S Garage is a whole nother story. Yeah. But I was in the shop all day and all night. I mean, I was putting 18-hour days in, it seemed like. And you were there doing the same amount of work on the car.
Yeah, man.
And it's not like we got a chance to. It's not like I just hung out in the shop and we got a chance to chop it up all day.
Yeah,
long.
which I mean, we chopped up a little.
It was awesome.
So, yeah.
Even Kayla, my girlfriend, was like, was it pretty fun having Aidan in the shop all week? I'm like, yeah, because she'll come hang out, but usually she'll be doing her own thing or at work herself. But it was nice having you in the shop,
doing
like
the same
kind of
thing.
yeah, exactly.
Just both on the grind.
But since I moved here, I really haven't had any shop experience here like that. I've had a few friends stop by. Mason lives locally, so he'll swing by. But I haven't had any like actual shop hangs here,
especially like that.
Right, exactly.
It was both, like I mean, we just said both grinding.
And to have like a car that has to get work done. Like if I pull one of my cars in to do something, it's like midday and I just do it. I don't invite a bunch of friends over because it's usually midday on a weekday or something. So it was really cool to kind of dip my toes in the waters of like a community feel in my shop. So that was really cool.
Yeah, and then we had Pete stop by and Mason, Perry stop by.
Yep. Yeah, Nando's up from Florida.
Yeah, and then Nando and Carly, they all came over. You know, so we had our little breaks here and there, but
back to the paint. Yeah.
Back to the paint. Yeah, I mean, it looks phenomenal. It's silver. I think silver in general is underrated, but I think on E36, I mean, BMWs in general just look unbelievable in silver, and you never see it properly clean. And I couldn't tell you the last time I've done a silver vehicle. So having the chance to do this car specifically, I mean, just it's a really good spec. It's in excellent condition, and I mean, just the whole. I don't know, just everything about the car, the whole aura around it. It was tight to do it, and then finally pull it outside and see it in the sunlight for the first time. Oh, I guess it wasn't the first time because when we pulled it out, it was raining. But
at night too.
At night too.
Yeah.
But when I did see it the following day, I saw it at the E36 meet, and he was parked downtown next to this old Italian building.
Yeah, the Rembrandt coffee shop.
Yes.
Yep.
And he was underneath this tree. I posted it on my story. Oh my
Yeah,
god!
it looked good outside.
And the Futuras, the faces match very well. They are very similar silver. But yeah, I'm just happy I was able to get it done and have it look as good as it does, because I'm so used to doing dark colors, blacks, dark greens, dark blues. And it's kind of self-torture in a way because it's not forgiving. You see everything.
Yeah.
So I'm like, it's nice to have a change and do silver for once, because I can, especially the time constraint. If it was black,
oh yeah, you would have been.
I would have been toast. I would have had to
Right.
I would have to do where knee up, make that perfect, but the bottom half don't go so hard because I just don't have the time. But luckily, since it's silver, it's so difficult to see any imperfection. So I pretty much did what I could with the time I had, and I mean, I think it looked great. I saw it in the broad daylight, and I did my little thing where I bounced around the paint for like 10 minutes trying to see like if I missed anything, and I mean, it looks really good.
It does.
The only thing I was unhappy about was the glass. I couldn't get anything out of the glass, but they make products for that, but I don't.
Right.
I don't own these products.
But I mean, you did buff. I saw you buff in the back window.
I did
there
the
for a
back
little
glass,
bit.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, it barely. Like, I can tell, like, okay, this side like a little bit came out, but it wasn't worth it, especially for the time slot that we had.
Right,
I couldn't sit here for 10 hours polishing glass.
Well, it was cool to like have that going on, like here the week before, because it wasn't a distraction for the stuff I had to get done. It was more or less a motivation because you were grinding on the car.
Yeah, so if you aren't doing something and you see me, vice versa, and you're like, oh,
right.
shit.
Yeah, there's no time to like stop and veg out on the phone or something like that. And like just because I'd taken on 4 big commission jobs within the week leading up to Riverside, like last weekend. And normally I'd push those jobs aside. I'm like, I can't do them. But the beginning of the year was so slow for the laser work where I was like, I just can't. I couldn't pass them up. And 2 of those 4 jobs were for vendors at Riverside.
For the show.
I made some merchandise for Dustin Williams at Okie Doke and Nax Whitmore with Fortune Mines. And they were both pretty big jobs. But Dustin, I was basically bartering with Dustin because he made the screen printed posters, the Patina Paradise posters.
Beautiful.
I mean, insane.
Never seen that ever done before.
I'm at the end of this episode, I'll kind of go into some of the products that I had at Riverside that will be available online soon, because this will obviously be a promo for that.
Don't sleep.
But yeah, definitely don't sleep. Because the posters are going to be limited, like strictly limited. We made 50 for the event. I sold maybe half of them. I didn't have time to really promote them and push them real hard for the show, but they're 18 by 24, traditional movie poster size, 100 weight cardstock black paper, like thick, expensive paper with a 3-color screen print. He screen printed. He made the jig and made everything by hand.
Made that
burned
time
the screens.
lapse of him doing it.
Yeah,
looks crazy.
Yeah, so they look amazing. So anyway, I bartered that job for him, and
he was going. He was, and plus
we all
the
were.
sign, these plates.
The
microphones.
Yeah, if you're watching on YouTube, you notice I'm running the Shure SM7B, which are like the best vocal microphone out there. I mean, even before podcasting got big, these were like my holy grail microphones. Simply because of my recording studio and being a musician and recording vocals, and I've always, but they're expensive. That's why people were like,
but you buy them once, you don't ever have to buy them again.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, that's the hope.
Amazing.
And so the back of the microphone has a removable plate, and behind that plate you can adjust like your settings on the microphone. Yeah. And so what I decided to do was make some laser engraved 2-color acrylic like LUDWICK'S Garage plates and plate them on. The reason why there's 4 holes is there's actually 4 holes. There's 2 bolts underneath that to replace or to remove the plate that's underneath. So the other 2 are underneath this.
Gotcha.
So when I take this cap off, that inside plate doesn't fall out too. Yeah. But I put 4 holes in it in case I end up, using beauty rings and putting the whole thing in. But anyway, I mean, that was just one more thing. I didn't have to do that.
I mean, there was that. There was Getting this in here,
Yes, I forgot about that.
a nightmare. We were taking off the front door and then freaking out about, what are we going to do for a table? Because John had bought a table because we were going to be doing this out in
The main room.
the main room. Yeah. And, you got a completely, like, a way oversized table for this room.
We'd painted all the walls out in the main room.
Yeah.
And I wasn't too excited about the acoustics. I was looking at room dividers. I almost pulled the trigger on like $1,000 used big room divider to tighten up the acoustics out in that big room. And because the kitchen, living room, and dining room are all like one room. And I was trying to divide everything off. But we painted the walls out there, was getting ready. And what turned out to be, luckily, I didn't end up spending a bunch of money on room dividers because once we started, Mason was here. It was you, Mason, Kayla, and I. And these are an odd shape, these booths. For everybody listening, the booths that we're sitting on are a split booth. It's basically an 8 foot.
Extremely weird to move.
Yeah, it's basically 8 foot by 3 foot, just over 3 foot, about 40 inches. But it's separated in the middle. So it's ultimately 4 foot by like 40 inches. And height-wise, I think they're 36 and a quarter. And a door frame's 36 inches. Yeah. So now we're like, long story short, we tried going up the inside stairs out of the shop. Yeah. Wasn't going to happen. I took the railings off and everything. We got like 2 steps up and realized that wasn't happening. Yeah. Came up the outside stairs. Since the house is on top of the shop, we had to go up the stairs. We're able to somehow get it in the outside door, which we obviously, like you said, we took off.
Yeah, and then got stuck.
Got stuck
had to go
plenty
down,
of times.
Get the hammer and the pin.
Yeah, get the door off.
Yeah.
Luckily, there's a bad bathroom. There's a bedroom right inside the corner of that outside door. We're able to hook it in there. And this room that we're in here is halfway down the hallway, but it was originally like a utility room and there's no door on it, but the door frame itself is like 4 feet wide.
Huge, yeah.
So the second we got it all the way down the hallway, and unfortunately,
fit in there.
Unfortunately, at the end of the hallway going into the living room kitchen area is another 36-inch door frame. Because when this place was built, it was office space, not a home.
Which is crazy. So
there's a door, or used to be a door down there, and we couldn't get it to that door because there's no bedroom to hook around or any opening. Yeah. So then, I mean, this was like what, midnight?
It was like midnight. Yeah, because I pulled up at 11.
Yeah.
Sunday night.
Yeah.
And we're both scrambling.
And so I said, we're going in that room. Like, it's the only place it can go.
And then as soon as we got him in here, we're like, wait, I think this is it.
It'll work.
Yeah, this is it. And he's got the studio lights set up. And like he said earlier in the podcast, we got mattresses all over the room.
I'm doing what I can for this episode.
And it's working.
Yeah, because you were leaving today.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I wanted to have like 4 episodes locked in this weekend. Yeah. Simply because everybody's here in town. Yeah, of course. And I wanted to take advantage of everybody being here in town.
But this boy can't stop working.
Oh.
Didn't have any time to set anything up, but it's all good.
Yeah, this week was tough.
At least you got one in.
Even this morning, because we were going to try to do this Friday night before the show. Yeah. And my Corvair broke down. Yeah. Like on the way to the pre-meet with the Corvair, broke down in front of the driveway at the house. Well, luckily it was close to the house. Yeah. Fuel issue. We were going to try to record. We were going to go to the pre-meet for only like an hour and try to record at 7. Yeah. Do like 7 to 9 or something. Get to bed. I had to be at the showgrounds before 6 a.m. to start setting up. Yeah. And then the car breaks down. Long story short, again, I'm working on the Corvair with what I can bring down there at midnight. Finally get the car fixed at midnight. Then Kayla and I are wrapping the posters, the Patina Paradise posters, till about 1:30 or 2 a.m. Go to sleep, set my alarm for 4:30 in the morning, wake up, get to the show, set everything up. And so this is the day after the show. I'm a zombie. Yeah. Like, so we woke up. You're supposed to be on the road by now. Yeah. Like, you wanted to be on the road by now, heading home.
That was the plan, but
8 hours or so? 10?
It's normally 8, but I'm making a pit stop in North Carolina to pick that stoplight up.
That's right.
And then it's going to add another 2 hours, but I figured, whatever. I'm going to be in the car so long. Anyways, what's another 2 hours? So.
Yeah, and so we're here now, and even this morning when I woke up, it was just like...
I was hurting.
Just on my feet all day. And yeah, so it's been a monumental effort to get here. But
it's important.
Yeah, if you'd gone home, I'd be so bummed they didn't work harder to get it done. Yeah. But yeah, you're right. This whole past week was, I just bit off way more than I could chew.
And like what you were saying, like I helped get the table and like we helped set the whole thing up just for me to go home and not record. Exactly. So we have to make it happen. I don't care if I'm leaving late. Like we can't leave without doing it.
This episode is brought to you by Wheel Price. A wheel classifieds app designed by automotive enthusiasts, Wheel Price is the most convenient way to buy, sell, and trade your wheels. Over the years, I've searched for vintage wheels on every platform imaginable, and it always seems like a task. Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace, Facebook pages, calling people, etc., etc. Well, knowing this struggle, the Wheel Price guys have created a hub where all of us enthusiasts can go to buy and sell our wheels. The search engine filter is great. Definitely helps for guys that know what they're looking for in wheels. You can search for the wheel model, the specs, diameter, their location, price. You can even communicate with sellers inside the app and even purchase wheels from inside the app. It is free. This app is free. It's for both iOS and Android devices. The links are in the video's description below, or if you're listening, you can get the link in the description of this podcast episode. Yeah. Leading up to the show, the car looked amazing.
Yeah, it was phenomenal.
And you didn't bring one your E36 though.
No, nope.
One of the two. You've got 2 or 3.
I had 2. I
yeah.
had 3 and I duffed one.
That's
yeah,
right.
R.I.P. the compact.
Let's talk about that real quick. We'll come back to the show.
Yeah.
That was a friend of yours?
So
compact?
yeah, my good friend Justin. I went with him to buy the car 4 years ago now, and it was in the middle of, I think, Lynchburg somewhere. This is actually, I'm really glad we're talking about this. This is a really good story.
I wanted to talk about it because I knew a little bit about the car, and I knew that you'd acquired it from him. I didn't know the story about how you originally got it.
Yeah, this is a good story.
But I know how it all ended.
Yeah, this is great. Yeah, this is phenomenal.
So anyone, well, you kind of gave it away a little bit, but anyone that doesn't know, this would be a good lineage story of that car.
So like 4 years ago, I'm at Justin's house, and we're laying on his floor, because what we do, nice ass carpet. And we're talking about, like, I want a daily. And he's like, what if I just got a stock E36? I'm like, that'd be sick. And he's like, what about a compact? I was like, dude, compacts are sick. And I'm driving home later that night. And I literally made it like 10 minutes down the road, and I get a text from him at a stoplight. I open it up, and it's a Alpine white slick top 318 Ti with beige interior, manual, and it was like $800.
No way.
Ran, drive, everything. I was like, no way. So he was like, I think he sent it and just put like ... And I was like, what are you doing tomorrow? Let's go get this thing, right? So fast forward, the dude's like, all right, here's the address. It's at my buddy's shop. He's like, you'll probably beat us there, but we'll be there shortly. So we drive 2.5 hours to like Southwest Virginia, and I mean, we got there, dude. It was dark, it was foggy, it was creepy, and we're out front of this rundown shop, and we're sitting there, and we're there for like 45 minutes, and dude's like not showing up.
Oh,
what
boy.
the hell? So then we go to like a Taco Bell, we get some food real quick, still like not there. And then he like calls Justin or texts him, and he's like, hey, he's like, the car's out back, we're still gonna be another 25 minutes. He's like, if you just want to go look at it, he's like, door's unlocked, like it's back there. I'm like, okay, cool. So I hop in the van, and we like go to like around the building, and there's no street lights back there.
Yeah,
there's 100 cars that are, I guess, either junk or waiting to be worked on, and then there's this compact. And like I said, it's foggy, so everything's like misty, like everything, like the windows are condensated, everything. And we unlock it, and we're looking at it, we're like, damn, like there's no rust, this and that. And he's like, I think the dude had said, he said, yo, the key's in it. And I think that's what it was. And we go in, and we're like, there's no key. And we're like, fuck. And the dude ends up showing up, and we're like, yo, like, do you have the key? And he's like, no, it should be in it. We're like,
oh, great.
It's not in it. And I can't remember exactly what happened, but we found the key. Either it was in the car, or the dude had it. I don't remember. And we're like, okay, sick. And we get it. We turn it on. And did we turn it on? No. I think it's been so long ago. I think we tried to turn it on, but it wouldn't start. But, we could see it had electrics. And then, just to add to this pile, the dude goes, yeah, I couldn't find the title. And we're like, are you kidding? And at this point, like, we had driven 2.5 hours. We've been waiting probably for like an hour and a half for this dude to show up.
Yeah.
And we're like, we're not leaving without this car. And we can't drive it. We have the key, but we can't drive it. There's no title.
Why couldn't you drive it? Oh, yeah,
it
before you found the key.
Yeah.
Oh,
it also wouldn't start. I don't remember
right.
why. I think the battery was dead or something. And and then we were like, I like pulled Justin aside. I was like, yo, offer him like I said, I think he was asking like 800. I was like, yo, offer to give him like 400 now. I was like, I'll call AAA. We'll get it towed on, and we'll get it towed back to my house. And then we at least got the car.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And
yeah, it's like, listen, it won't run. You don't have the title. Like,
but we're not leaving without it, because
right.
I mean, slick top Alpine white compact. Like, we want this thing, right? No rust, no crazy dents or anything. Like, we need it. And so that's what we ended up doing. I think he gave him like $400, and he's like, look, I'm gonna find the title and I'm gonna mail it to you. I'm like, all right, sick. So I call AAA. They come. I tell them I bought the car. Oh, and it doesn't run, even though it's Justin's, whatever.
Right.
And yeah, fast forward, had it towed to the house. Boom. And then the next.
So $400 scoop.
So $400 scoop.
Yep.
But the deal was gonna pay him the rest when we get the title in the mail.
Oh, okay.
So we get it back to the house, and I think the next night we try to get it running, and I think we put like new plug wires on it, new plugs, and valve cover gasket, and then like fixed a bunch of vacuum leaks, and it ran.
Yep.
Boom, done, turned on just like that, and yeah, and then, we had driven it around like the neighborhood and whatnot, no tags, no title, nothing, just riding it dirty.
Oh yeah.
And then we're just like, yo, like we'll just leave it at my house until, you get the title or whatever, and I'll try and like maybe clean the car up a little bit or something until in the meantime. And then we hear from the dude that he bought it from, and he's like, he was in this crazy sticky situation. So the dude that he bought the car from said he lost the title, right? And he actually fully lost it, right? But the issue here is he never titled it in his name.
Yeah.
So he's like, I have to get in contact with the original owner that he had bought it from, which is some old head.
Yep.
And hopefully get the title.
Great.
And thank God, got it, right?
Wow.
Took a couple weeks, but we got it, right? And then, this story's great. So, gets the title. This is like probably 2.5 weeks from now. And Justin's like, all right. He's talking to the dude. He's like, yo, I'm going to send you another 300 instead of 400. Because he's like, this is mad annoying. I'm not giving you 800. I'll give you 700, right? So he gets the car for 700. Sends him the remaining money. And as the old man, that original owner of the car, ships the title out, I don't know what happened. Like I said, this car was at my house. I was cleaning it up, moving it around the driveway, whatever.
Title was in the car?
No.
I forgot you said he didn't have the title.
This is bad. No, this is bad.
Uh-oh.
Ships the title out to Justin, right? And my dumbass loses the key.
Oh, great.
I don't lose keys, bro.
Yeah.
I don't lose keys. I'm like, because I had driven it to the gas station or something just to like get some gas in it. And I drove it home and I locked it and it's nowhere to be found.
Oh, great.
And I'm like, what? And I'm like, what? I literally drove back to the gas station. I'm like, did I drop it? And did I like accidentally hit the lock arm with my elbow or something? Like, what happened? Like, I don't understand, because I thought it was like a spare key or something. And I made it back and I was like, maybe it's in the car. Maybe I locked it or something, right? So I popped the corner light out. I'm stretching the hood cable. I popped the hood cable. Look under there. It's not in there. I'm like,
great.
What the hell? And I'm like looking through the windows. It's not in the car. I'm like, what the fuck? We get the title. Now there's no key.
Yeah, so
and
opposite.
To this day, to just jump ahead real quick, I don't know where that key went.
Wow.
Because that means I would have had to drive it home, take it out the ignition.
Yeah, it was at your house. It was at your
lock
house.
the car. I would have, like, I always, like, there's a little basket. I always either put it in the basket or I'll have it in my room somewhere, or it's on the bar in the garage. I looked in the gravel, like, where it was parked, like, nowhere to be found.
I hate that. I hate that so much.
I hate it. And
yeah. And like, I obsess over it. And it hurts. It hurts my like my being.
Yes.
Like not just my head. Like I feel like I'm off kilt or off centered until I find it. Yeah. Because you start thinking you
I'm like, where'd it go?
You backtrack and you're like you retrace your steps almost to the movement.
Yes.
Like I remember I had an itch on my back, so I scratched my back.
Exactly.
Like what happened after I scratched my back? Like, did I touch my hat?
Yeah.
Is the key on my hat?
Exactly.
Like where is
you start going crazy,
dude? Quick sidetrack. I was on the phone once and I got a call while I was like turning my TV on. So I had my remote in my hand and I was talking, and it was like a friend that I was talking about a trip with or something. So it was like a long phone conversation, and I pace when I'm on the phone. And if you ever text me, you know that I'm the guy that calls back. I'm that guy. Yeah. You text me, I call you back, because if you text me and with everything I have going on,
it gets lost.
I'll always go, I'll preview the text. I have my like push notifications on preview, so I can get a quick idea of what's going on. Yep. And I go, I can't dedicate the attention I need to dedicate to this right now. Yeah. So I'll do it later. Yeah. Later never comes. Yep. I'm too busy later as well. And I always forget. So I'm terrible. Instagram messages, Facebook messages, those are the worst, but definitely text too. So I'm like that. So Anyway, we're talking on the phone, and I pace. I always pace when I'm on the phone. I can't sit down and just talk. I'm always walking around. So I'm walking around with the remote in my hand. And so we're on the phone for like a while, and then maybe an hour, and I get off the phone, and I'm like back in the living room because I was about to like eat food, and I had the TV on. So the TV's not on yet, and I'm like, where's the remote? And I look, so again, quick story though. I look everywhere, just like you looked for that key. Yeah. I looked everywhere. I mean, underneath my couch. Like, why would it be under the couch? I don't know. Like, everywhere. Looked in the sink drain. Like, where would this remote be? On top of the cabinets. Like, everywhere. I couldn't find it anywhere. And now I've wasted 2 hours of my day looking for this stupid remote. Yeah. 3 days later, or like maybe the next day, it felt like a few days later, I found the remote outside behind my shed.
What the?
In the ground, on the ground, like in the woods behind my shed.
Because you were pacing,
because I remember what happened. This is how I found it. I wasn't just randomly behind my shed. The next day I remembered a piece of the puzzle. I was like, oh, I went outside while I was on the phone. I probably still had the remote in my hand. And what happened was I went outside. This was in the spring, so all the snow had melt. Yeah. And I started picking up sticks on my lawn. Like from the snowstorm, you know, like after the winter, all that brings the limbs down or whatever. Now that the snow's melted, there's like sticks all over my lawn. So while I was on the phone, I'm just picking sticks up. I might as well multitask
to do that.
So, and I throw the sticks into the woods behind my shed. So I was like I must have like put the remote down and bundled up more sticks. So 2 days later, I found my TV remote and it was out in the woods behind my shed.
Yeah, see, I wish I'd have that resolution with this key. Dude, so I lose a key.
But now you have a title, no key.
A title, no key, and a car that runs, but now you can't turn it on because there's no key.
Right.
My dumbass fucking lost.
Which I guess is better than like having to jump through the legal loopholes of like trying to. Right.
So I'm like, Jesus. I'm like, bro. First off, I feel bad because this whole thing. This was like a month after we had like got the car to my house, like before we finally got the title and like got it running good and like cleaned up. I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, Justin, I fucking lost the key. And he's like, are you kidding me? I'm like, I don't know what happened. So I was like, and the issue is the nearest BMW dealer in any direction is an hour and a half away.
Even in Fredericksburg?
Yes.
Wow.
It sucks. It's so dumb.
Yeah.
So we have to drive. We drove all the way to Richmond and obviously I paid for the key.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, let's get the key. And they're like, all right. It's going to be like 2 days. I'm like, oh my fucking God. I had to come back down.
They wouldn't ship it to you? They wouldn't mail it to you or something?
No. And also, I don't know if everybody knows this, and I don't know if they still do this, but when they make those cars back in the day, they had a batch, let's just say, of 10 keys, and there's some warehouse in Germany, and there's a bunch of lockers.
For that specific car?
And they've got, I don't know, obviously I've never seen the place, but I asked them about it, and they literally have this big building, and it's just filled with lockers, and they're all numbered to each
like VIN number? What?
I'm assuming, they have to be. And they have all the keys that were originally made in 95 when that compact was made. And if you lose your key, they call up Germany, they pick it up out the locker, and they ship it to you. That's why it took 2 days, which I thought was pretty cool.
That's insane.
And they still charge you for it, which is stupid.
It's like
you bought the car with 10 keys.
Apparently that key goes to that car. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me pay the shipping.
Yeah, exactly.
And for the guy's time that works in that building.
Yeah, but it's not like $75.
It's like the guy at the end of Indiana Jones rolling the Ark of the Covenant in the crate. I forgot you're like 15.
Movies. Yeah, I don't go outside.
Never
or watch
mind.
TV or anything. Anyway,
anyone listening that's seen Indiana Jones knows what I'm talking about. There's a giant room.
Laughing.
Guess
who's not?
There's a giant warehouse with just boxes everywhere. It's like they finally found the Ark of the Covenant, which like that was the whole point. They were searching for it. And the last scene is some dude rolling it on a cart, and it pans out, and it's in a box that's gonna go in this warehouse with like 1 million boxes.
Yeah, that's exactly what that key.
So it's that guy.
Yeah.
That guy went to that locker and got the key,
and he's probably chuckling like this idiot in Virginia just lost his key.
Oh, now he knows that like it's just crazy. I never knew that. It's a good piece of information. I didn't know that.
So I don't know if they still do that, but I know they did.
That's funny.
So I get the key, and we get back, unlock it, start it, and it's good. I'm like, thank God that weight is off my shoulders.
It's crazy that key was an original key to the car.
Yeah,
it was supposed to be in that lock cylinder.
Yeah,
it was supposed
which
to be
is so cool.
Yeah, that's pretty rad.
But yeah, so now that part of the story is kind of out there, we take it back to his house, and within a week, we had put coils on it, and we had put wheels on it, and this was supposed to be a daily, and it is, but obviously that's no fun.
I mean, we know how it goes.
But yeah, we know how that goes. And he ended up daily driving that car for the past 3 years. And I mean, super reliable. The thing never broke down on him. You know, it would run a little weird every now and then, but it was 4-cylinder.
How many miles?
I think he got it with like 180.
Okay,
something.
yeah, typical mileage for that car.
Yeah. And like I said, manual, dailied
four-cylinder.
Yeah, 4-cylinder, extremely good on gas.
Yeah.
And yeah, like I said, he dailied it forever, and then it just got to the point where like you don't want to do that anymore because I mean, one, obviously it didn't ride the best, and then you know, not doing the maintenance as far as like control arms and tie rods and shit, like the front end's just rattling, and on top of everything,
Yeah, it needs a lot of maintenance if you daily drive it.
yeah, and then on top of everything, you know, the AC's going in and out, and the heat doesn't work that great. You know, thermostat's stuck open. So like they're all little problems. Like you know, the windows are kind of messed up. E36 shit. And you know, driving that every day, that really gets to you. All those little things start to add up. And he was just done. He's like, yo. I remember he had like toyed around with selling it. I was like, don't sell it. Come on, like that's awesome. Like, don't sell it. And then he was like, he texted me one morning, and he was like, I'm about to sell it. Like, I need this thing out of my life. He's like, if somebody doesn't buy it, I'm taking it to pick apart. Like, I'll take the wheels off of it and just take it to pick apart. And I was like, no.
Yeah.
I was like, no. And this is right before I moved to my shop. And I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah, you got a new expense coming.
Yeah, and I'm like, I shouldn't buy this car, but I don't want to see this in the junkyard.
Or anyone else with it.
Or some shithead that's going to take it and ruin it. Because I'm like, that car is, like, I had sentimental value to that car.
Yeah, you had your time into it.
Yeah. And it just, I get too attached to things, you know?
Yeah.
I don't sell cars. So I'm like,
Can't relate.
Yeah, I know. So I'm like, I don't want to see this in the junkyard. So I buy it. And he gave me an excellent deal on it. And I didn't know what I was doing with it. I was like, I just know I didn't want to see it in the junkyard. So the entire time I owned it, I told everybody, I'm like, look, this is just kind of like the on ice car. Like, you know, I know what I want to do to it, but like, I don't know when I'm going to have the time or the money to do it, but I know I have the car secured because that means it's a rare car.
And the E36 collector was born.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And at that point, so that was my second E36. And then, you know, fast forward to October, I bought the sedan. Yeah, the saloon. And at that point, I had 3 36s. I had the 46s, the van, the Miata, 3 scooters. Like, that was my peak.
Yeah.
And car insurance dude was crazy. Every time I'd call him,
you made it.
Yeah, when I got the sedan, I was like, yo, I got another car. I'm adding it to my insurance. He's like, all right, we taking one off? I was like, no. He's like, he just chuckled. He's like, I see how it is. I was like, yeah. But anyway, so I bought the car. It was like 3 days before my birthday in June, and yeah, I had just, I cleaned it. I did some things, like I pulled the interior out, just cleaned the shit out of it. I put the stock seats back in. It had other OEM seats in it, but what happened, the stock cloth seats, believe it or not, he was just driving one day, and the recline just went. It just shot back, and he thought, like the mechanism broke. But after I owned it and I was ready to put those seats back in, I found out the weld broke.
Oh, and the bracket.
Weld for the back just broke. Like, I asked him, like, he didn't hit anything. He was just driving and it had just broke. So I had ended up, peeling the cloth back, welded it back, whatever, put it back in the car. And but I mean, only thing I really did to that car was clean it. I put amber corners back into it, or all the amber lights in it, and peeled some stickers, and I really didn't do anything to it.
Was it already on the
white?
What were those white wheels that were on the car?
There were silver style 32s.
Okay.
And,
yep. I knew there were OEM Plus wheels, but I don't remember which ones it were.
Yeah, great wheels.
Okay, so I'm not a big compact guy. I've never really liked them, but that one looked awesome.
That one looked
the
awesome.
white on white, looked great.
Slick top. Yeah, it looked
great.
And the interior was really interesting because it was tan, but it wasn't tan. It was like more of like a gray, and it had, I don't know, it was just this weird cloth. But I mean, compacts got really crazy interiors. If anybody knows,
it's kind of like the Volkswagen Polos. They always had weird quirky interiors.
Yeah, I mean Volkswagen in general, but especially the Polos. Yeah. But yeah, so I had not really done anything to the car. I mean, like, obviously when Justin owned it, I helped them put the coils in. I helped them, refinish the wheels. So like I had my hands on the car, but when I owned it, I didn't really do anything other than just clean things up. And it was just kind of like that. When I have time, I'll do something to it. And and then the end of January comes, and we get our second as everybody knows, I go out in my van and I act up.
In the snow. Because you're from Virginia. When it snows, everyone geeks out.
Yeah, whatever. He's making it seem like I'm in North Carolina where it don't snow. But
Yeah,
no,
I
so
know you
anyways,
snow.
and I'm like, damn. I'm like, what's one car that I don't really, really care about?
As much as the others.
As much as the others.
That's rear-wheel drive.
That's rear-wheel drive, and that's sitting in my driveway waiting to shred. And
Yeah.
I'm like, the compact. So I'm like, fuck it. I'm going to take this thing around the neighborhood. I wasn't dumb enough to take it on like a main road because obviously it's useless.
It's
in the
too
snow.
bad you didn't take the van.
Whatever. Dude, I've thrown my vans into so many ditches.
I know, but
so anyway,
keep going.
So listen, so I'm like in my head, every time I go out in one of these snowstorms, I'm like, I'm not dumb. Like I got this in my head that, I could put this thing in a ditch and roll it or hit a tree and just total my shit.
right.
It comes with it. You know what I mean? So whatever. So I'm like, I start the compact up, and I'm brushing the snow off it and I'm getting it warmed up and I'm like, hell yeah. I'm like, this is going to be awful. I know it's barely going to drive and I could duff this thing into a ditch or something terrible could happen.
Yeah.
And I accept that. And I know that. And I would never take like any of my other cars out there because I care, like really care about those cars. Where this car, like, yes, I had the sentimental attachment, but like I didn't really build that car. Like even though I physically built it, it was more of like Justin picked out the wheels. He picked out the clear corners. He picked out this and that. So like it wasn't like I built this car with my taste and I was like real attached to it. So I was
right.
Yeah. So anyway, so I go out and I'm having fun in my neighborhood.
Solo.
Yeah, solo. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was just having fun. Whatever, slow, like 20 miles an hour. And then going around like the backside of my neighborhood. And at this point, I wasn't doing anything, ironically. And I was literally just driving. And the way I'm going to try and describe this to where if you're not watching, you can kind of figure it out. But the way this corner was, so I'm coming, it goes down a hill, you go up a little bit, and then the direction I was going is a right-hand corner, but you kind of, as soon as you crest over this little hill, it starts to go right, also going down, and also banked outside.
Away from the turn?
Yes.
Scary.
And then,
slippery.
yeah, and then as you go through the corner, it goes back up and then straightens out over the crest of the hill again.
Yeah.
And so I know that corner's coming up. And in my head, I'm like, yo, I could fuck this corner up. I could do some stupid shit on this corner, but I wasn't doing anything at this point because I'm like, I don't know who's coming around this corner. Like I'm stupid, but I'm not. I'm dumb. I ain't stupid type shit. You know what I mean? So I'm approaching the corner, and sure enough, I see a white work van, like coming around the corner as well. So I'm like, all right, whatever. I won't do anything. This ain't my corner, right?
Right.
And it wasn't. So I come over the crest of this little hill into this corner, and the front end gets light, and I'm like, oh God. I'm like, here we go.
Do you see the work van at this point?
Oh yeah, I'd seen it before I'd even gotten to the corner.
Right.
And that's why I said like I wasn't doing anything stupid, and I was literally going maybe 20, 23 miles an hour. And obviously I let off the gas as soon as I was like going around the corner, and I felt the front get light and it started to push, and I was like, okay, whatever, like this is happening. So I'm like starting to drift into the other lane. And the thing is, we are both going so slow that homie in the van, if he had his thinking cap on, he could have just literally gone to the left and just got into my lane, and we literally would have just zipped right past each other. And
it all happens. I mean, yeah, some of those people are just
I get
like,
it.
oh,
Yeah, I
you
get
freeze
it.
up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People,
some people aren't strategic drivers.
Yeah,
on
I
a
get
second's
it.
notice.
And I get it.
Yeah.
But
so he stays in his lane.
So he stays. So I drift into the lane, and then I got control again because it was just a brief second where it pushed me into lane, and then I just needed to get back into my lane, but obviously it was too late.
Rear-wheel drive cars are tough in that type of situation,
Especially there's no weight.
Right. So if in that situation where if you try to throttle out, you'll go broadside. Mm-hmm. Whereas a front-wheel drive car, you can point the tires in the direction you want to go and throttle it.
Yeah.
And you might have a better chance to get out of a situation like that.
So I'm in dude's lane, and I see him like panic, and I see him like go left and go right and go left and go right. And he just goes right towards me.
Yep.
And keep in mind, this corner, we're in the middle of the corner, like at the bottom of the hill that the corner's on.
Yep.
And it's sloped out to this doom of a ditch.
That first swerve left to go into your lane was like the right choice, but then he second guessed because
he probably thought I was gonna make it back into my lane. Or something.
Always, I've been in situations like that haven't ended the way yours does, but like you almost wonder, you're like, are they gonna play ball if I go into their lane? Like, or are they gonna recoup? Yeah, exactly. And now I'm headed right for them.
I get it. Shit happens. Right?
Yep.
That's why
you just never know.
Yeah, and that's why to reiterate, when I go out in the car, I know some shit can happen.
Yep.
So whatever. So as I realize, like, okay.
So homie in the van makes the wrong move.
He keeps like going back right and then like straight towards me. I'm like, So out loud, I wish I had a dash cam. Like, this literally is the most funny thing.
And normally you do have like your GoPro going or something, you know.
No, I'm irresponsible. I whip my phone out.
Right.
No, so, oh my God, bro. I literally pull it up and I see him head on, and out loud I go, damn, this is really happening. So what I do is I always wondered what I would do in this situation. And thankfully I was conscious enough to, because I know I've heard that, like, if you're too loose, you know, that's going to hurt. If you're too stiff, it's going to hurt. Pause. And I was like, I'm going to be somewhere in the middle. So I just
don't push your legs against the firewall.
Yeah, so I just kind of like, you know, let my legs.
At least you had time to like realize what was happening.
Yeah. So I let my legs get a little loose, and I had my hands, like both hands on the wheel, but
bend your elbows.
Locked,
yep, bend your elbows.
And then I didn't press my head against the back of the seat, but I had resting. You know what I mean?
Right.
Kind of helped myself. And then like I see him coming, and I'm like, all right, I'm ready. And I just close my eyes. Boom! Head on. Crazy noise, right? Car instantly shuts off. And I like, after I like bounce back, I like open my eyes. My hood is just in my face. Oh my damn. And I see the van, and I see these like wooden things on top of the van like falling off. I think they were just boxes, but it looked like wood at the time.
Yeah,
I think it was just cardboard. And it was like falling off the top of the van. I was like, oof, that sucks. But then I look down, my phone's on the floor, and my cassettes, my Biggie cassette. I just got the Biggie cassette. It was the Ready to Die tape. I just got it 2 weeks ago for Christmas. It was on the ground. I'm like, oh, my cassettes. So I'm worried about my cassettes and my phone. So I'm like, damn. So I'm like, I pick my cassettes up and I like put them back in the door, and I like pick my phone up. I'm like, all right. I'm good. Like,
yep.
All right.
Extremities.
Yeah.
Not bleeding.
Yeah. So all of that happened in like 15 seconds, right?
Right.
I'm like, all right. Hop out the whip, right? I get out. And, also, right before I got out, I saw him drive around me, and I was like, okay.
After the accident?
Yeah, after the hit. I saw him like kind of drive around me. I was like, all right, he's just getting out the way, you know, because we're obviously in the middle of a corner.
Right.
And I'm like, all right, he's smart. He's getting out the way. So I like hop out the whip, and I like get out. I look down at the front of the car, and I'm like, damn. And then I look up, and I look around. I'm like, damn.
He's gone.
I was like, oh, he's just different. I don't know how he left so fast, but he was out. I'm like, damn. And I'm like, well, that sucks. So I pull my phone out, I step back, and I take that picture that I posted.
That you posted,
right?
Yep.
And right after I took the picture, some kid that lives in my neighborhood, I guess he knew me, and he was with his girl, and they were driving past, and imagine being them. All they see, they come around this corner, they just see my car mutilated, just toasted.
Were they coming from the direction that the van left?
Yeah, that the
so
van
they probably
went
past the van.
Well, they were behind the van. I'm saying they were coming the same direction as the van. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so they come over the hill onto the corner, and they just see my car totaled, and me just kind of standing there like, damn, that's crazy. And then, and I'll never forget, the kid rolls the window. He was like, his face was just, he's like, Aidan. I was like, yo. He's like, what did you hit? Because my car's just smushed, and
it's
there's
alone.
nobody around. Yeah. And I'm like, a van? I don't know where he went. He was like, hit and run? I was like, yeah. He's like, I'm going to go try and find him. Like, what kind of van was it? I was like, just like a white work van. I don't know. He's like, I'm going to try and find him. I was like, all right, whatever. And
your car's still in the middle of the road.
Yeah, kind of. It was kind of like pushed off. And I was like, damn, like that really just happened.
So anyone listening can see that photo. That's on your Instagram.
If you go to my Instagram, I made sure I didn't make it like the main photo because I didn't want to like freak everybody else. So I like, I think if you look at the timestamp, 8 minutes prior to this happening, I had pulled over and taken some photos of the car in the snow because it's all, alpine white with all the snow around.
Exactly.
It looked really good.
Yeah.
And so I made that like the first photo. But anyways,
Aidan MT on Instagram.
Yeah, a little plug. I Yeah, so I'm alone. I'm looking at the whip. I'm like, damn, that's crazy. And then this truck comes, like a newer truck from the direction I was coming. And my neighborhood has like a little security team. And a security officer hops out of like his private truck. I'm like, oh, sick. And yeah, he's like, what the hell happened? And I told him, what I just said. And he was like, man, he just left. So what happened was I was, before I reached that corner, it was just a little straightaway. And the officer was blowing the snow off of his truck to drive that on duty today or that day because I guess they were having a bunch of issues with their patrol cars and he wanted to drive his truck because obviously better than
the roads are bad, right?
Yeah, and he was outside and he heard the noise and he was like, huh. And then he saw the van drive by his house with shit falling off of it.
Wow.
And he was trying to wave him down. He's like, yo, whoa, whoa. And he just kept driving. And he's like, what the hell? And all he could remember was, white, I think it was a Chevy or maybe even a Ford, whatever, work van with boxes on top. So he was like, well, he's gone. Let me go see what happened. And that's when he pulled up on me. And then I told him.
Right.
And then I hopped in his truck. And I was like, he was, taking my information down. And I was like, damn, I don't have my wallet.
Oh, it's in
I'm
the
like,
car?
no, it's at home. Because I was
Yeah.
just going around the neighborhood. And sometimes I just leave my wallet because I'm an idiot. And I was like, whatever. And I told him, I was like, I don't have my wallet. I was like, I'm going to call my pops. The call of shame.
Yeah.
I'm like, yo. He's like, hello. I'm like, yo, I'm fine, but I just got in a head-on collision. The dude dipped, and I need my wallet. And he's like, huh? What do you mean? And he's got this heavy German accent. If any of you guys listening have ever met my dad, you know exactly what I'm talking about. He's got this crazy German accent, and he's just, what are you talking about? And I was like, car's totaled. Don't worry about it. I'm good. I ain't tripping. I said, I just need my wallet. And he's like, oh, all right, I'll be there in a few because we're in the neighborhood, right?
Right.
So he pulls up, he gives me my wallet, and he's just shaking his head. And I'm like, well, I mean, like, I'm not tripping over it. Like, whatever. Yeah.
Can't go back now.
Yeah, like, whatever. Shit happens. And, yeah, so to sum up, there's a front gate to the neighborhood, and then there's a back gate. And the front gate, you can enter both. But if you enter the back gate, you have to like actually live there because there's like a little barcode and it scans it, whatever.
Yeah.
But so you can leave through two gates, right? And they both have cameras. So they just went on the cameras and they found a white van with shit falling off the roof and they found the plate.
Yep.
And pretty much the deputy who somehow knew me, which I thought was hilarious because he was like, yo, like you do like video stuff. He's like, so you probably got this all on dash cam,
That's
right?
hilarious.
I'm like, nah, I don't, but that's funny.
Yeah.
He, took my contact and he was updating me throughout the ordeal and was like, yo, we got the plate. It registered to a business and the business like home address was actually in my neighborhood.
Oh.
So they called and I guess they got in contact with the business owner and they were like, okay, we're going to figure out who did it. Nothing. Never heard anything else. So I think Justin made a good point. He said what could have been was, it could have been like the owner's son or something. And they're like, he probably like told him off, but was like, I'm not going to throw my son under the bus. And because a hit and run head on, bad. Like the cop was giving me the rundown on like what they could do to the guy.
Right,
and I was like, damn.
Not good.
Yeah.
You stay at the scene.
Yeah. Like thankfully I was good. Right. But like, what if I was an old lady and I broke something or I was bleeding out. Right. Yeah. And I could just bleed out and die right there. And he just dipped.
We've seen that a lot. My dad owned a towing company, so we saw that a lot where not necessarily hit and run, but someone who might be on blood thinners and they're in an accident and they start bleeding and you bleed out. And that's it.
That's it. You're done.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so thankfully I was good.
Right.
But like, whoa, like what if I got really fucking hurt and he just dipped, Like that's not cool. But so I never heard anything else from that. But the funny part is I sat around for a couple of days and I was like, what do I do about the car? Like an insurance type thing. So I'm pretty chill with my insurance agent. So I called him.
Yo, I was on a hit and run.
I was like, hey man, I got a question. Cause normally every time I call him, I'm just adding a car to my insurance. I was like,
hey, it's Aidan Templin. Oh, you adding another car?
Yeah. And I was like, nah. I was like, I'm in a little predicament. That's what I told him. He's like, yeah. I was like, let's just say I got in a head-on collision and the dude that hit me dipped, and my car's not worth a whole bunch of money, and it's got a lot of nice parts on it. I was like, what's the benefit of me telling you guys that I got in a head-on
Claiming
collision?
it, right? Yeah.
He was like, well, so what they would do is, you'd claim it, somebody would come out, look if it's fixable, and I cut him off. I was like, no, she's done. She's totaled. She's like, okay. And
Yeah.
he was like, all right, so they'd give you scrap value, and then, you'd have the option to buy the car back, and then, it's yours. You can do whatever you want with it. I was like, all right. And I was like, so what you're telling me is I should just, not tell you anything.
Right.
Part it out.
Take the loss.
Take my loss, and then go on about my day. And he was like, yeah, that's what I would do. He's like, if you were anybody else, I wouldn't tell you to do that, but I know you know what you're doing, so go for it. So I'm like, all right, bet. So that's exactly what I did.
Yep.
And
'Cause I remember seeing all your stories recently, too, that you finally started parting it out.
Right before I went to Atlanta 3 weeks ago.
And you had it running.
And so if anybody listening, if you haven't seen the photo yet, if you haven't gone to the Instagram at AidanMT, it's probably like the 4th photo down, 2nd slide. What happened was the front end of that car was real low. And obviously a work van, pretty tall, big.
Aimed for the front of the motor, basically.
Yeah, and the front bumper unscathed, and it just knocked out the kidney grill
right into the engine,
straight into the front of the engine.
Yep.
And there was a hole right in the front. Granted, it was the timing cover.
Yeah, it busted a hole in the cover,
a clear hole.
Yep.
Plus,
see inside the motor.
Everything around it was just smacked bad, like it shouldn't have ran. And so when I had it towed from the scene, I had him, drop it off right back at the side of my house, and I was just going to deal with it later. And I had to take my father's Land Cruiser and, by myself, of course, pull this thing back, go back in front of it, pull it forward, turn the wheel. Like, I had to shimmy this car back into the main part of the driveway so I could rip it apart.
The production to get it into place to part it out.
For literally like 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And whatever, that was part of the deal. I was like, that's fine. I don't care. I'll do it. Like, I got to get it done. And as I'm looking at it, I'm like, I wonder if it'll run.
Yeah, what's the harm now,
Yeah, and what had happened was I think I was in the car. I was trying to move something. And I think I had knocked the key and it turned. Like, it didn't turn the engine, but it turned to accessories. And I saw the battery was still good.
Yeah, everything lit up. Yeah.
I was like, for shits and giggles, I just want to see what happens. So I put a jump pack on it. Thing fired right up. You saw it on my Instagram.
Yeah,
That was first take. I didn't know if it was going to run or not. And it started up, ran for a second, and it died. And I was like, oh my God, this really, no way. So I started again, and I got it to idle.
Yeah, next story was it staying running.
It idling.
Yeah,
and
that's funny.
Oh my gosh, it was so bad. I started and I got out the whip and I walked around to the front. You could see the whole front just murked, and you could see the engine just
yep,
because it was misfired. It was running like shit, but it was running and idling. And I'm like, I know fully built engines that can't even idle. Like, this thing's still going. Like, how is this possible, right? So, oh my God. So I'm sitting there and I'm like, man, I wonder if it'll go into gear. Because I remember right after I hit the dude, I went to go put it in neutral, and I remember the gear lever was
linkage might have been.
Yeah, because I was in my head, I was like, damn, I think he hit the front of the engine. It probably ripped the mounts, and then everything in its sight just got pushed back.
Right.
And I was like, hopefully the drive shaft or hopefully the differential's good, whatever. Right. So I figured, everything's in line. It probably got pushed back. So I was like, I wonder if it'll go into gear, and I got it into reverse or something. It was either reverse or first, and the front right fender was bent so hard onto the tire that when I went to go move it, it was getting bound up, and it didn't want to move. It was skipping the wheel, but I got it to move. I was like,
yeah, I remember seeing you drive it in the driveway.
Yeah, and then I put it in reverse, and I went 15 feet. And I was like, bro, I just spent 30.
Just moved it.
I just spent 30 minutes pushing this thing with a Land
always
Cruiser.
Goes that way.
Oh my God,
always.
It was hilarious though. And then when I had moved it again, I had set my camera up on the side of the Land Cruiser, and I started taking a video of me moving. And of course, as soon as I do that, my pops pulls in the driveway, and he gets out. You can see him in the background of the video. He's just like,
oh, I thought you meant he was gonna move the Land Cruiser and your phone was on it.
No, but he comes in the driveway and he sees me moving it. And
yeah.
He's like, what the hell? What? Because if you're listening and you still haven't seen the car, if you saw it and realized that it still drove,
it moved,
kind of,
right? Yeah, front end was all stove up.
So bad.
Yeah.
Yeah,
caster was all off. Front wheels were moved back.
And it wasn't leaking anything.
Crazy.
Unbelievable. And
because the hole in the motor was up top.
Yeah, but but the radiator was duffed.
Yeah.
And
did it leak coolant at the site?
It was snow. I don't know.
I was gonna say, no way that thing didn't leak coolant.
So let's say the accident happened. Let's just say at 3:00. By the time I had it towed and sitting back in my house was literally 6, maybe even 5.
Yeah.
And there's no way all those fluids leaked out in that amount of time. So it was sitting on the side of my house for 2 months.
Yep. That's wild.
And there was like, I mean,
That's
there was like a
insane.
little tiny thing, but nothing like crazy. And I had it running, and I was like,
Yeah.
for sure, this thing's gonna get like, spraying coolant everywhere. And like, I remember the coolant hose was sitting on the pulley for the alternator, and it was just rubbing on it. And I'm like, I don't care.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
you're
yeah,
parting
and
the
then
car
I
up.
had pulled everything off. I pulled slick top headliner, still for sale if you want to buy
Oh,
it.
you haven't sold that yet?
No, I haven't really pushed it.
Yeah,
but it's
yeah.
also kind of hard to sell. But I don't want to throw that away. Like, I'll throw the rest of the interior away before I throw that headliner because that's rare. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
And it's in excellent condition. So yeah,
Yep.
I had pulled the headliner, the dash, seats, rear seats, all the trim pieces. I pulled the front windows out of the car, door handles, like latches, tail
Yeah, because you know
lights,
someone will
everything.
be like, "Did you save this?" And
Yeah,
you'd be
exactly.
like,
So
"Yeah,
I just
did."
went ahead and pulled everything, and then I sold it to my homie Nelson, and because there was still, I pulled the diff too. 'Cause that was the only option that car had. I had the window. I still have the window sticker for the car, and the only option they had on it was a limited slip differential.
Wow, that's crazy. That's wild.
They had the head.
Yeah,
on
being a
sticker.
318, I was like, "Oh, it's an open
Yeah,
diff."
yeah.
For sure.
LSD.
Wow, that's
Unbelievable.
crazy.
Yeah, so
It's
I
crazy you
pulled
had the
diff
window
out.
sticker still too.
Yeah, and so when I sold it to my homie, I was like, yo, like, I mean, I stripped almost everything, but like, you still got a Z3 rear subframe, 5 lug, like you can sell that to an E30 guy.
Yep.
The engine still runs, so like the engine's probably fine if you pull it out. Just get a new timing cover for it. I know the trans is fine, drive shaft, everything's there. So like, there was still some stuff for him, and he came to my house and picked it up and got it out of my life.
Yep.
I didn't have to, rent a trailer or a tow dolly or anything to get it to the pick apart. So,
Yep.
boom, done. Gave me my money, boom, out. So now that car is out of my life. I sold the wheels.
Beginning to end.
Yeah, which it's funny if we go full circle here. I bought the car because I didn't want to see it in the junkyard, and now it's in the junkyard. So I'm not bummed about the car, but I'm bummed that I felt like I let it down because I look at cars like humans almost. I look at them like they got feelings and shit. So I was like,
Yeah.
because man,
I mean, they do have an essence.
they do,
Like,
man.
I don't name my cars or anything
Yeah,
like
me
that.
either.
And I do like, I mean, the Corvair and the 700, like my dad and I built those cars together. And so like, I'm not selling them.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I buy and sell cars all the time. It's part of my income. So I look at it differently, but I do have like, an appreciation for the essence of the cars
man.
that like, especially vintage ones when they were built by hand and like,
Yeah.
and they were just,
and you're saving them from fields.
and yeah, for sure. Yeah, they've
So
already been
you've
left
got
for
even
dead.
that more leverage. Like, you
Right.
feel like you really saved the car.
Yeah,
So, like,
exactly.
for me, I was like, man, because like every car I get, even if it was just a flip that I've had, like I want it to leave as good as it can before it leaves my hands.
Yep.
And I got that car, and like I said, I didn't do any modifications to it, but like I cleaned the shit out of it. I restored the headlights, got it all nice.
Did you do any YouTube episodes of cleaning that car
I
up?
did. I announced that I got a shop and that I got a new E36 in the same video because, like I said, I had bought the car in June, like 3 weeks before I got my shop, and I was like, "Fuck it, that's a good way to introduce a shop." Because how do I make a video saying I got a shop without me talking?
Yeah, that's the funny thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the beginning of the video shows me pulling up in the compact. You see, I had the camera pointing out of the glass door, and like you see me pull up, and new car on the channel, and then also like, yo, where's this camera at? And then so I, first 20 seconds I'm showing the shop, and then I think that video I cleaned the engine bay, and it looked fucking awesome, right?
Yeah.
And then I think the next video I did the headlights, and then I think that was it. I think so. I guess only two
Yeah.
videos.
Yeah, I was just curious. I couldn't remember if you had that car on an episode. Or
Well,
not.
oh shit! Actually, 3 years ago,
When-
I polished it
on the channel.
on the channel, and it blew up when the Civic mold video blew up. Obviously when you find a new video on a new channel and it's blowing up, you go and look at other videos.
Right.
And for some reason, everybody went to the compact video.
Yep.
And that video was it's ass. Like, I don't recommend watching it. But that video's got like almost 1 million views as well.
Wow,
Yeah, it's got like
really?
900 something thousand views.
Wow.
Unbelievable. So I
That's
guess
crazy.
there's technically 3 videos on the car.
Wow.
But yeah, so now it's dead. But
yeah.
whatever.
I
Is what
had-
it is.
That E12 that I had a blue E12 and the white steelies. Do you remember that car?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
that was
real hard.
That was a 3-speed automatic car. Found it like on the side of the road, basically up the street from me. Guy worked at the local BMW shop, like a used BMW shop. Family in my town that had imported and exported BMWs and Mercedes through the 70s and 80s.
Yeah.
And so they were like the BMW like legends in my area. And it was the guy that worked for them, and he had that E12. Well, anyway, I was street parked in the capital of New Hampshire in Concord at my buddy's barbershop. And I was parked curbside, and every car that I'd take to the barbershop would be like my 1960 Mercedes Fintail, the E23. Actually, I didn't have the E23 at this point, but I had the Corvair at the time, the Fintail at the time. I always had some sort of 80s Mercedes or German car or something like that, or even older.
Yeah.
And so it was pretty common in the summer, the front door of the barbershop would be open, and it was pretty common for people to like step in or peek inside, because the chairs were on one side and this long bench pew that people just sat on. And people would peek in and be like, hey, whose old Mercedes is that out there? Like always. And usually everybody would point to me.
You get a fresh fade and you're like, ha, it's mine.
Or I'm sitting there waiting and people are always like, oh, it's this guy's. And all the boys in the barbershop just knew that I was usually the one with the modified old car out front. And so that happened enough to where someone popped in and said, hey, who owns the old blue BMW out there? And I was like, that's mine. And they're like, yeah, truck just drove over it. And I was like,
no way.
Oh, I was like, you got to be kidding. So what happened was...
You didn't hear it?
No. I mean, the door might have been closed. Yeah. Someone might open the door and whatever.
Gosh.
So what happened was, you know, like, I remember the first time I ever drove a pickup truck, but I didn't do this. I was curbside parked. I was parallel parked, and there was a spot in front of me open. Mm-hmm. And this guy in like this extended cab pickup truck, you know, I don't know, maybe it was a four-door, I don't remember. It was like a long truck. It was a full-size truck. And he went to pull in nose first to parallel park, right? Because probably doesn't know how to drive a truck, too afraid to parallel park the thing.
Why, yeah.
So he cuts too sharp. He cuts in front of my car and puts
the rear wheel,
drives right over the front of the car. Like the rocker, like his rocker panel went right over the top of the front hood and like front fender, and then like kind of like and just like his rear tire hit my wheel, like the wide steelies.
Monster jam. Great digger.
And it was a US spec E12, so that had those real big like side markers. Took the side marker off. Luckily didn't do any serious damage except for aesthetic. Took the marker off, and the car had a really cool patina. It was all original paint, and it was just a really cool looking faded paint. And so it just like put his paint and like gouged the whole front of the car basically. So anyway, to go back to when you had the insurance issue with the car, the guy had insurance, so they had an adjuster come out to look at my car to assess the damage. And now this car, static, fender to lip fitment on 15s. Like Dan Crosley shot that car, and he shot like an undercarriage photo. Yeah. And on the E12s, anyone who knows the E12 chassis to E24s, like my 635 CSI, and this E12 had the lower subframe that the lower control arm and tension rod mounted to has like a tow hook built into it on both sides. Well, I had ground that tow hook off because the tow hook loops around and gets welded to the bottom of the lower control arm mount or subframe. So I had ground that off to where the tow hook was just like the top and side, and there's no bottom left. So that car was like on the ground, fender to lip fitment on a 15s. They were 15 by 8s with 165 45s. So it was like kind of a, you know, lots of tire stretch for the most part. To someone who doesn't know anything about like what we do, it looks alien. Like a 165 45 on an 8-inch wide wheel.
It looks like it shouldn't belong.
Exactly. Or hold air. So this adjuster guy shows up, and he's from my area. And my dad knows the guy because my dad owned a towing company. So there were claims adjusters showing up every day. So when I told my dad, because the guy had called me, and I said, hey, that guy's showing up. My dad's like, what's his name? Because he figured he knew him. And I told him. He goes, oh, that guy's an ornery old guy. Like just never seems to be happy. Seems like he hates his job. Like just kind of like
great
tough guy to get to know. Because I was thinking like, I'm going to try to milk this. Like since the guy has insurance, I'm like, you know, this is like kind of a car that's hard to find parts for. Yeah. So anyway, the guy shows up and I'm outside. He gets out of the car and this car's like, it's all on the ground. Like the car's on the ground. There's no, like the fenders and the lip of the wheel are outside and the tires inside. You know, it's like real tight fitted. The guy gets out of the car and like before, I'm like walking up to shake his hand and he's looking at the car and he just goes, what happened? Because he's thinking the accident caused
all of this.
Why the car looks the way it looks, you know? He's like, because it's got not a lot of camber, but it's an independent rear suspension. So it's got a little bit, you know, -5 degrees maybe, nothing crazy. But, you know, it's accentuated when the wheel... Oh, he's... Literally goes, what happened?
It's like somebody went to the top of a car and just smushed it.
And I was like, well, yeah, the front left corner here. And he goes, no. Like
yeah, but he thinks the whole thing got messed up.
Because what happened to the, like, back? Like, what's wrong with the rear? And I was like, oh, he didn't touch the rear. And he goes, does the car move? Like he couldn't figure out.
Couldn't
So now I'm
fathom.
thinking, great. Now I'm in a predicament where I'm like trying to tell him like, no, this is, I was telling him it was like a race car and that this is set up for the track. And I'm like, I'm trying to figure out to speak in
How you
layman
can word
terms.
it to him, yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, that I ended up only getting like $500 for that payout.
Yeah.
But I was telling him like, we got to paint the car. And like, we got to do all that. He's like, oh, we're not. He literally goes, no offense, but we should probably just total this. And it was like the front corner was like scratched up and it was missing a corner mark. I'm like, oh, and like the wide steel was like black where his tire had like hit it. I'm like, we're not totaling the car. We're not totaling the car. That's not happening. But that was the only time I really had to deal with an insurance adjuster on a car that was like heavily modified.
Yeah.
But
yeah, it was funny when I had gotten the car towed back to my house. Like the tow truck drivers were like, "Whoa." Like same ordeal. Like I mean, the front end smushed, but like the car's still slammed.
Yeah, slammed on
and
the
it looks
ground.
even more slammed because the whole front end is just caved
Stoved right
in
in.
and down. Yeah. And they're like, "Damn, like this seemed like a pretty nice car." And I was like, "Yeah." I was like, "It was alright."
You just talk it up. Like, yeah, don't scratch the paint.
Yeah, I'm like, watch it, buddy.
Yeah.
But
well, that's that was a sad ending to that car.
sad ending, but
like you said, you picked up the saloon.
yeah.
So you got
same
same paint codes too, right? I know they're both black, but they're both the same paint code, right?
So yeah, they're both just Schwartz 2 black.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is another story time.
Well, I mean, yeah, we could talk about the saloon.
Yeah. I can just sum it up quick.
Well, and we can lead into the fact that you're trying to get it done for Helen.
Yeah.
Alpine Volkswagen.
Yeah. So if you rewind 3 years ago now, around this time, I think it was like February. My father's like friend from like there's a lake in my neighborhood, and he was a boat driver for the ski team, and he was friends with another dude, I think, that also had a boat. Whatever. So pretty much father's family friend lived down the street, and I guess came by one day when I wasn't there and talked to my pops. He's like, "Yo, I got an older Beamer, and I know you guys like Beamers." And he's like, I need it cleaned up, and I need like some maintenance done to it. Like, is there something your son would be interested in?
Yeah.
So you fast forward, I did a whole bunch of maintenance to the car, and I fell in love with it. And I'm like, oh my god, it was a '98 328 black sedan, factory manual, leather power heated sport seats.
Yep. Not a slick top.
Not a slick top, unfortunately, but still super cool car.
Yep.
And at the time had like 92,000 miles on it. I was like, oh my god,
nice.
I need this. No rust. Like,
thing
was solid. And actually, no, so there's no rust, but there was the driver quarter where the taillight was, something had happened, and they did some body work, and because the dude never cleaned the car, all the dirt got behind the taillight and kind of sat there, and then did something to the bodywork and kind of chipped the Bondo over time. So there's like a little surface rust there, but as far as everything else, like that was just a body shop error, I guess.
Yeah.
But anyway, so yeah, fell in love with the car, and like by the time I like finished detailing it and doing all the work to it, I was like, fuck. I was like, I want this car bad, because at the time I had my wagon, my Vert,
which is an E39.
Like 46.
Oh, 46. I'm sorry.
Yeah, 46 wagon.
And
then I had the 36 Vert and the Miata in the van.
Yep.
And I was like, oh, I want this. And and I told him, I was like, yo, I'll buy this right now. Like, you don't, like, I don't think you understand how bad I want this. And this dude's like well off, right?
Yeah.
Like, he wasn't hurt. And I was like, you don't need this old 90s Beamer. Like,
right.
Let me get this thing.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, I love this car. Blah, 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 right? And I had told him, like, yo, so he had this crazy house down the street from me. And I was like, yo, he's like one of those typical, I hate to be selective, but typical Americans where they half their garage is just filled with shit.
Right.
You can't fit anything in
right.
It. So the left side he had his wife's Lexus SUV something, and I told him, I was like, hey, you're paying me a lot of money to make this car really nice, and it's black. I'm like, and they had like oak trees and shit in the driveway. I was like,
acorns falling all over.
Yeah, I was like, you should probably while I have this car for like 2 or 3 weeks, you should probably clean that side of the garage out so you can keep it inside, right?
Take care of this thing.
Yeah. And then on top of it, they were selling the house, and I'm like, it'd make it look better too if you have somebody come by. You got 2 cars in there, one's real nice, you know what I'm saying? So anyways, didn't end up doing that, but he was like, yeah, we're just gonna park my wife's car outside and put this car on the left side of the garage, take its spot. Did it for like a month, and I had seen it. I had seen the car like 4 months later in a Walmart parking lot. It looked
awful.
exactly the way it looked when he dropped it off with me.
Yeah.
It looked like shit. I was like,
Yeah.
I was pissed. Like, I filmed a whole video on it, and I remember I had put it on my story. I was like, hey, you guys remember this car I just did like 3 weeks ago?
I remember that. Yeah.
Trashed. So then I was just pissed. I'm like, man, this car does not deserve this.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
right.
back to the whole thing where, like, you know, I feel like cars have feelings. You know what I mean? Like, I get so connected to the car. And
yeah.
so I'm like, motherfucker. And I just forget about the car. And then he sells the house and never heard from him. It's like, whatever. And then you fast forward 3 years back in this October 2021, I was at the shop. It was real late. And I get a random text, random number. He's like, hey, this is Melanie. You did a bunch of work to my father's BMW a few years ago. I got a couple questions. And, you know, like I said, it was really late. So I was like, whatever, I'll just respond to this in the morning.
Right.
And I responded. I was like, yeah, I remember that car. I was like, I love it. Like, what's up? She goes, oh, I'm glad to hear you still love it. I'm thinking of selling it. I'm like, thinking to myself, fuck. Because at this point, I've got the compact, because I hadn't told it yet.
Yeah,
I had 3 mopeds. I just got this shop. I'm like, I can't be buying a car because, like, the dude that owned it, her father, like, he knew what he had. Like,
yeah. Did he buy it new?
So he bought it from the original owner back in 2014.
Okay.
In Washington State, and the original owner actually left a love note in the car about the car, explaining, hey, this is how we found the car. My wife was driving it. She just had it. It was this whole love story. It was beautiful.
Yep.
And he typed this whole thing out and put it in a little envelope and, you know, put it in the glove box for the dude that owned the car at the time.
Yep.
And, so anyways, I texted her back. I was like, oh, no way. Like, I've been trying to buy that car for years. And I told her straight off rip, I was like, I'm not really in a position to buy another car right now, but
right.
you know, I love that car and I want to hear more about it. So, like, you know, talk your shit. I want to hear it. So she's like, all right, well, I want to let you know, like, it's got some issues now. And, you know, oh, also I left out the part. He gave it to his daughter, this Melanie.
So she owns it now.
So she owns it. And I had no idea. And she was like, yeah, it's got some problems. And she lived in Northern Virginia. And, you know, everything in a big city costs a lot more money. And
right.
She had a bunch of issues. And the shop was going to charge her like $2,400 or $2,500 to fix all these issues in order to pass state inspection.
Right.
And she was like telling me, you know, failed for power steering week and like bag control arms and like stupid shit.
Right.
Typical
Usual stuff.
Yeah. And she was like, you know, are you still interested, you know, after hearing all this? And I'm like, absolutely. But I'm like, what's your price?
Right. Most importantly.
Yeah. She goes, this is when I started like doing backflips in my bathroom because I was getting ready for work.
Yeah.
She goes, the first line I read, well, I took it to CarMax. As soon as I read that, I'm like, oh, I'm in there because I know they're not going to offer her shit.
Right.
And offered her $800.
No way.
And I'm like, oh my. And she, also,
I'll give you $1,200.
Yeah,
on my way.
Well, so no, this gets good. So I left out the fact this car has 100. At this point, when I had worked on it, it had 92,000.
Sub 100. Right.
Yeah,
Right.
and now it has, I think it had like 102 or 101,000 miles on it, right?
Baby miles.
Yes.
Baby miles.
And yeah, and they offered her $800. And I was like, okay. In my head, I was like, okay, 800, that's close to I'm like, this is me in my head. I'm like, that's close to 1,000. I'm like, I'm not trying to be out 1,000 right now. So I was like, I'm going to buy it. I'm going to fix it up. And I'm going to flip it because I can make pretty good money off that.
Right.
So I was like, in my head, I was like, all right, that's what I'm going to do. And yeah, we keep talking like throughout the rest of the morning. And I was like, all right, I'm going to be serious here. I was like, I love this car. I want it very bad. And I told her, I was like, I just got to ask. I'm like, I don't mean to insult you because I know you can just take this to CarMax and get you 800. But I was like, are you open to offers?
Yeah.
And she goes, well, you know, if I took it to CarMax, you know, I'm sure they'd probably scrap it. And, you know, I know you love that car and I know it's a cool car. And, you know, if it went to you, I wouldn't mind letting it go for less than 800. And I'm like, at this point, I'm at work and I'm like talking to my boss and
I gotta go.
I'm freaking out. I'm like telling him,
Yeah.
I'm updating him because every time this happens, you know, he's like a second dad to me. So I'm telling him everything. And I'm like freaking out. I'm like nervous. I'm like, oh my fucking God. Cause like 800 is already
Unbelievable.
crazy cheap.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. And I'm like, oh my
This is
gosh.
last year too. It's in the middle
This
of
is
like.
in October.
Right.
And I'm like, oh my God. And I was going back and forth with my boss. I'm like, yo, like, what I don't want to insult her. Like, what do I offer her? And we were going back and forth, and I was like 650 sound all right? And he was like, yeah, say 650. So I'm like, at this point, I'm nervous. I'm shaking. I'm like,
I know the feeling.
I'm like, I have to go take a shit because I'm about to crap myself. Bro. I'm having nervous shit, right?
Right.
So I'm like, peace. So I go to the bathroom and I'm sitting on the toilet and I'm like, I'm typing this message out like every word got to be perfect.
Right,
I'm not
right,
trying to
right.
insult her straight
Right.
up. And I'm like, I'm typing 650 and I'm like, in my head, I'm like, oh, 650. Like, I'm really not trying to spend 650 right now. Like, it's
Right.
still like, I still would. But I'm
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I'm not trying to. And I'm like about to hit send. And I moved the cursor to 650 and I backspace, and I put 550. And I was like, and I just like turned my head away and I just hit send. I was like, oh my god.
Yeah.
I just locked my phone. I was like, I don't even want to know. Like, I don't want to like insult her. And up until this point, she was responding to me every like 10 to 15 minutes, right? And it was like 2 hours, bro. And I'm like, great, I just soiled it. It's done. This is
you
over.
Lost the car.
It's over.
Yep.
I'm like, god damn it.
That's the longest 2 hours of your life.
Yes, and I'm in the break room and I'm eating my lunch and I'm watching YouTube and I see the little
Drop down.
Yeah, I see a little message come and I don't have like the previews on, so I just saw it was like Melanie. I was like, and like immediately I clicked on it and it was like, hey, sorry, I was working, blah 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 blah.
Of course.
And then like, period, and then next sentence, all caps. Absolutely, I'll let you go. I'll let it go for that price, you. Blah, blah, blah. And I was like, and she goes only under one condition. She's like, you have to tell me, or you have to show me every time you like do something to the car, like clean it up, blah blah. I was like, well, I was gonna do that anyways, but yeah, absolutely. So at this point, I'm like, sick. Like, when are you free? And she's like, I mean, if you can make it up here tonight, blah blah blah. Like, we can follow you. Like, so generous. Like, wanted to be able to like, if I couldn't find a ride, she would just drive me like down with the car and I give her a ride back. Like, such a nice girl.
Wow.
And I was just like, no, like, don't worry about it, because I already felt very bad at, like, $500, right?
Yeah.
So I'm calling everybody I know and I'm like, yo, I need a ride up north now before she looks up
what
this
going
car
for.
could be worth. Yeah, because
Right.
like I will say, like, in the state that it was when I bought it, it was not worth a whole lot because it was
Right. Yeah.
I mean, dude, it was missing a kidney. It was disgusting. The
Yeah,
car
you got to
was-
put some work into it.
Yeah, so like, it's not like
But that's what we do.
that's
though.
what we do.
Exactly.
Yeah, so like, not like she could have gone and sold that car for 10 grand as is. Like,
Exactly.
absolutely not. But I was just like having that fear, like, what if she looks up and sees what the car's worth right now and then like changes her mind? So I'll be calling everybody I know. I was like, yeah, I need to get up there right now. So Joey shouts.
This is why, like, for years I was always asking my dad if I could borrow his truck, and then finally once I flipped a few cars, I'm like, truck, trailer,
Yep, you
I
need
can
it.
go home, turn it on, and go. Yeah.
Yeah, so shouts Joey. I hope he's listening. I'm like, I told him, and he's pissed. He's like, yo, like, let me buy it off you after you buy it. Like, I'll give you a G right now. He's like, because everybody loved that car. It was such a good car. Because he remembered when I was working on it. And, man, me and him rode up there. It was like nighttime when we pulled up, and it was raining. Obviously, like the worst two conditions you can buy a car in. But I already knew the car.
Yeah, you never buy a car at night and in the rain.
Yeah, but like, luckily I had already seen the car. I kind of knew it.
Exactly. You knew the car.
Yeah, so I'm like, all right, whatever.
And for $550, dude.
I was like, dude, I could take the engine out. So
That's the way I felt paying $2,000 for my right-hand drive V23. The bumpers were worth more than $2,000.
Yeah.
So like, it wouldn't start. And I'm like, I don't even care.
Yeah.
I don't even, like, and it was like snowing. It was almost at night. I'm like, yeah. So that's one of those scenarios for $550.
Dude.
Like,
Man,
let's go.
So I'm like, all right, we pull up. I see the car and I can see it's like, it's in rough shape, man. I'm like, this paint is totaled right now. I'm like, missing the kidney. Like, it was not.
It wasn't presentable.
It wasn't how I remembered it. And
right.
For a tiny second, I was like, oh fuck, like, oh, what did I just get myself into? Because I thought there was like more damage that they didn't even realize. But thankfully, like, I got it home and it was just really fucked up, but not like nothing major.
Not irreparable.
Yeah. So, man, they had like a phone mount on the dash, like with like.
Did they drill holes?
No, but
it
was like 3M tape, and I was like, oh
here
God.
this goes.
So I had like driven it to my work the next day, and like I just left the windows up.
Put heat to it.
Well, I let it get like real warm in there, and thank God I just popped it right off. I was like, whew, thank God. But like, other than that, like, the car was pretty much how it was.
Was it black interior?
Yes.
Black on black.
Black leather sport
manual.
interior.
Oh,
yes, it's a
man.
dream. And
Yeah.
at this point, my mom's pissed. My mom's pissed because when I left the house the morning before I found out I was getting it for less than $800, I had like told her because like I live at home. I gotta tell her I'm like, yo, like
Get another car coming.
Like, yo, ma, there's gonna be another whip in the driveway. So, and I told her I was like, yo, I'm gonna flip it. Because like I was, if I was gonna get it for $800, I was just gonna flip it because I wasn't trying to be out almost $1,000.
Yeah.
And then I got it for $550, but I hadn't told her yet.
Yeah.
So I like get it home and I'm like, yo, ma, I'm like, I only got it for $550. She's like, oh, that's great. You're gonna make even more money. I was like, yeah, but that's
about
the thing. I was like, for $550,
It's kind of worth keeping.
Yeah, I'm like, I can't get rid of this. And she was pissed for about a day, and I was like, yo, chill out. And then I just like, I brought it to my shop and I left it there. I was like, now she'll just forget about it.
Yeah, you get a shop now. You get
exactly.
space.
So I just let her forget about it. So, anyways.
Yeah, you get space.
So yeah, then I filmed a handful of videos on that car.
One of your most recent ones is that car too, right?
Yeah. So that car is the first car that I have a chance to film from the very beginning
in your
all
shop.
the way to when it's going to be built. And I think it's even cooler that I've got a video, like one of my third, fourth videos on my channel is that car. And I got to film it again. And
owning it.
Yeah, owning it.
Right.
And, being more knowledgeable on paintwork and this and this and that. And, so I filmed, like, the first video was a wash. And then the second video, wash and engine bay. And the second video was interior. And, and then I did the paint correction. The paint just turned out unbelievable. There's nothing, but I will preach it till the day I die. There is no better color than a solid, clean, deep black with a good correction. Like you see that go through the parking lot, it just looks like you can swim in the clear coat.
Exactly. It's like deep.
It's
you can
so
like go
good.
in there.
I had this one old head tell me, I don't even remember what his name was. He told me one time I was at a dealership because all my homies worked there at the time, and we were on the topic about how much it sucks to maintain a dark color car. And this old head walks up because he heard me talking about it, and he was like, yo, man. He's like, and I never forgot this, and I preach this to everybody. He goes, guess what? He's like, paint, like black, dark paint sucks to keep clean, but he's like, think about this after I leave. He goes, you will never, ever forget when you see a very clean black car roll through a parking lot. That image sticks in your head. And I was like, damn, you're kind of right. And then after he left, I kept thinking. I'm like, yo, every car I really like that really has stuck with me like in my memory is always a clean ass black car, no matter what it is.
Yeah.
And I'm like, damn, yo, like he's right. And like now, obviously years later, like now that I know how to like do that type of maintenance to the paint, like I've got even more appreciation to it. So
I mean, I remember, we're really good friends now, but we kind of knew each other back then. But 2011, Ocean City, H2O, Convention Center parking lot. Mm-hmm. Rainy, dismal day. Matt Wallen rolls by in his E38 on Futuras. Black short door E38 on OZ Futuras.
Not to mention 19-inch two-piece Futuras.
Yeah,
unbelievably rare.
So obviously anyone who knows
Shouts
the
Matt
car,
Wallen.
anyone who knows the car knows what I'm talking about. But if you don't, it's a short door black E38 on it was KWs or they Fortunes.
I think they were Fortunes. I think they were early Fortunes.
They were early. Yeah, it was one of like the concept kits for that platform car.
So.
And they went deep. They went real low. And it was on, two-piece all original 19-inch OZ Futuras.
With the Porsche caps.
And talking hard in the rear.
Yes.
And heavy tint windows.
Yep.
So this is my favorite as well.
So
This is why the Century was like the long wheelbase Century.
Yeah.
It's like that's the same type of car.
Absolutely.
Rolling that thing down the strip in Ocean City, tucking wheel, was just a dream of mine because that's the same flagship, black, dark. But I was in the convention center parking lot and I saw him rolling through one of the aisles.
Dude.
And that has burned in my memory.
That's exactly what I'm talking
just
about.
Just low, quiet spaceship just rolling through the parking lot.
Yes, man. Especially in like a 7 Series because they're so long.
So
you know what I mean? The presence is crazy.
And I've said this, and I've probably said this on the podcast, but like my favorite thing about standing on the sidewalk in Ocean City watching cars on the strip were I almost like correlated it to like a scene out of Star Wars where there's like the battle scenes where the X-Wing fighter and the TIE fighters are whipping all over the place. But then the big Star Destroyers are just like moseying through space. And the strip was like the Rabbits and the Golfs and the hatchbacks and then every now and then there's like a D2A8 or like a 7 Series or an S Class just laid out, just slowly, it's just rumbling by. And that's,
Unbelievable.
you'd see him coming. It's like, look.
Yeah, because the bumper's in the dirt, man.
And I can't remember who it was. There was a guy named Koos Diedel in Europe. I can't remember if he's from Holland. He built a 5-window cab over Chevy, just like mine, bagged it over like a truck chassis. And I watched a video, like some random cheap YouTube video of him like 10 years ago, talking about these big rigs that he likes. He imported from America, and he like bags these rigs. And I think whoever was interviewing him in this like YouTube video was asking like, you know, why the big vehicles and why do you drive so slow? And he goes and basically says, and I'm not even going to try to emulate his accent, but he basically said in his sharp English, like in English words, but in his sharp accent, basically said, when you drive by very fast, nobody can see your vehicle. When you go by nice and slow, people get a chance to like absorb your work and see what you've done. And he goes, in not so many words, is how he talked about it. And I immediately correlated it to that feeling of watching a big, dark car just kind of roll by. You get to absorb, you get to see everything, and you're like, wow. Exactly. So coming back full circle to a black car rolling through a parking lot, that's exactly.
Yeah, and then like I had finished the correction on the sedan.
Yep.
And that car because normally like you get a car, you wash it, you do this, you do that. We were just talking about that last week.
Yeah.
But this car, like I had to film everything, so I had to pace myself because I couldn't just dive right in and do it. I had to film everything in sections.
And this will be out before your episode. So to hype everybody up, you did film an episode of doing E36 in my shop here for the YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Stoked
did,
to see
on
that.
Mason's car.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I couldn't dive right into it. So like finally I completed the correction and I got brand new. Shouts to FCP Euro. They helped out. I got brand new OEM kidneys, emblems, the chrome logos on the back, cabin filter, like a bunch of shit to just make the car real nice. And I remember I had pulled it out for the first time. Oh my gosh, dude. Just a bone stock clean example. And I was like, man, I really own this for $500.
Insane.
Man. Yeah, man. Like there's nothing wrong with it. Like no check engine light. Like the car is fucking mint.
These are the stories I like having because the last time we talked about my E23 find, and then the BBS body kit find, and then your dad's E30 and the BBS kit find there.
Yeah.
So like this is like, I feel like
another one, man.
I mean, we should do more than one a year, but it seems like every one we do, it's like another.
We got
like
more.
Buying like a black on black, low mileage factory manual E36 for $550 in a market that's insane.
Yeah.
Is mind blowing.
Yeah, dude.
Pretty crazy.
And
I'm not gonna talk about the new project yet. But that's another like one of those stories.
Yeah.
It's not time to talk about that yet, but
but yeah, man. So like
that's awesome. And that's the one you're trying to get ready for Helen.
Yeah. So I bought the car. I did all that, and then some of you may know my E36 Vert. I have a '92 early bumper on the front with Racing Dynamics front lip.
Front lip. Yeah.
It's molded for that bumper, the early model bumper, and I made a post on my story. It was just like a picture of the sedan. And I was like, hey, I want to find a Racing Dynamics lip for this car too. He's like, I mean, how hard would that be?
But it's a different one because it's a different bumper.
A different bumper.
Right, exactly.
You know? And I was like, like just putting it out there.
Yeah.
That never works. You can never just.
It does.
Well,
though.
it does.
Yeah, but I know what you mean.
Yeah. I was like, I just want to get it out there just so people can look.
You're like, what are the chances of something happening?
Yeah.
Right.
So, because like that, you just don't find those lips, bro.
Right.
And I shit you not, the next day, less than 24 hours, one of the kids that follows me, I wish I remember his name, he sent me a message. He was like, yo, there's some parts page I follow in Indonesia. And he's got a picture of one, like it's like a stock photo of one on his Instagram. He's like, I don't know if he still has it, but, here's the link. And I was like, all right. And the stock photo was a picture of the 92 bumper with the 92 lip, aka the one I already have, which is a different bumper for my sedan.
Right.
And I was like, but then like the part number that he had in the description was for the other model lip. And I was like, this is confusing. So I messaged him, kind of broken English, and I confirmed with him that he had the lip I needed for my sedan. And I was like, great, how much? And this is the funny part. So I paid $500 for the car. We'll just round down, say 500, right? The lip was $450 50 or something, right? But it was in Indonesia.
Yeah.
So like all said and done, landed at my house for like $750. But in my head, I was like, look, when am I gonna find another one?
Right. Exactly.
It's gonna hurt right now to buy it, but like once it's on my car, I'm not gonna give a shit.
You get $1,200 in the car with that lip on it.
Yeah. And I'm like, but I was laughing because I was like, wow, I just spent more on this front lip than I paid for the entire vehicle. But yeah, so I've just been stacking parts, man, for Helen.
And the wheels.
I got the Racing Dynamic lip, and then I had bought, all right, so before I was like really diving deep into this car, I was like, oh, well, I have some Style 5s laying around, and I had some Style 81s, just like whatever OEM wheels. I was like,
yeah,
I don't really want to come out of pocket too much. Like, I already have these wheels laying around. Like,
yeah.
You know,
it did look
clean.
good.
Yeah, just make it look clean. So I was like, fuck it, I might do that. And then I found a set of BBS RK2s, and I bought those for the car.
That's right.
And I always wanted them, and I was like, fuck yeah, I'm gonna do this. And I had those wheels in my shop for like 3 months, and I had this whole build planned around these wheels, which would have looked awesome. And then I wake up one morning, and I go on Instagram, shouts to Sebastian Sum. I click his Instagram story, and he's got a picture of 5x120 17-inch Futuras. And
that's the wheel.
I'm laying in bed. I'm like, oh my god. I'm like, these are my dream wheels. And I'm like, at this point, I already knew I was taking the car to Helen, and I was like, bro, can you imagine?
Yep.
Pulling into Helen for the first time with my own vehicle, chopping my favorite wheels on one of my favorite vehicles.
Yeah.
I'm like, and the compact at this point was already totaled, and I was like, man, I could sell the Style 32s off of that car and sell the RKs that I already had to help fund the Futuras, and that's exactly what I did. I sold both wheels in the same day.
Yep.
And then I sent the money over to Sebastian, and then I guess like a month later,
ran down to get him.
I ran down to Atlanta, and I saw him for the first time. I was like, oh my god,
yeah, that's awesome.
I really just bought Futuras for this car. So
it's a good feeling,
man.
It's the way I felt when I bought the Ronal Type 2 Schnitzers for the E23.
Yes.
They showed up like spray painted black and needed full refurnishing, but like when they showed up and opened the box, I'm like, these aren't the OZ made ones. These are the Ronal ones, the early ones. And I was like, this is crazy.
Unbelievable, dude. Yeah.
Same deal with the E76s.
Yeah.
I haven't balled out too hard with wheels, but every now and then I'll like justify it.
A little flex.
Opening the box and seeing 1987 Magnesium Center E76 BBS Motorsport wheels. I was like, I'm putting this on a lot.
That's what happened when Joey had his Mark 1. I think I even talked about it on the last podcast. He also got a set of E76s, and then he bought brand new lips, barrels, hardware, and the little ceiling ring from BBS Motorsport. Right. And I remember like opening all that for the first time. I was like, oh my god, like this is
pretty
sick.
cool. Yeah, you're like you're opening heritage.
Yeah, literally. And cool. So yeah, that car, it's literally as soon as I get back from this trip, it's go time for that car. So like I'm gonna refinish the Futuras first, because like 2 of them are spray painted like a dark gray, 2 of them are spray painted a light gray. They're kind of fucked up, so which is right up my alley. I like fixing that stuff. So I'm gonna film a whole video, refinishing the Futuras. And yeah, I'm gonna have the car finished, hopefully, for Helen, and tow it down there. And hopefully it doesn't rain, because I'll be pissed. Yeah, I'll be out there with a leaf blower.
Leaf blower again.
You know what I'm saying? No. But I have this vision in my head. I'm all right. Everybody listening at home, picture this. Helen is in like the mountains, right, of Georgia. It's beautiful.
European built town.
European built.
Looks like you're in Austria.
It looks like you're in Austria. It's unbelievably trippy. So, I got this vision. Our cabin is in like the mountains outside of town, right? It's gonna be a nice, cool morning. I'm gonna somehow get my ass out of bed before 10 o'clock, right?
Seriously.
I'm gonna get out of bed. I'm gonna hop in the whip, right? Windows, they're gonna be half down, perfectly level, right? Okay. I'm gonna turn the whip on, and I'm gonna be driving down. You got to drive down this crazy mountain range to get into the town.
Yeah, it's down in the valley.
Yeah. So I got this vision, right? Windows half down. I'm gonna have my Biggie tape or my Jay-Z tape or my Nas tape in the deck, and I'm gonna have that shit blasted. I'm gonna be smiling ear to ear. My Racing Dynamics lip's gonna be freshly painted. It's gonna be beaming in the sunlight, right? The Futuras are gonna be chopping so hard. You know what I'm saying? The fresh polish on the lip. Everybody's gonna be like, holy shit. Or they're not, and that's fine. And I'm gonna pull in, and there's like a crest. There's a little hill. You come over the crest of the hill into Helen, and I'm gonna be whipping, man.
It's a good feeling.
I'm gonna be pushing.
It's a good feeling.
I'm so excited. Into a Volkswagen show. You see me pulling up into a BMW.
It's close enough.
Yeah. So I can't wait because this is like one of my.
Dude, I know the feeling because, I mean, and we don't have the time to talk about these stories. I've already talked about them. But like driving into Helen from when I drove the Corvair from New Hampshire, when I drove my Mercedes 190 from New Hampshire, you know, put 20 plus hours into a one-way drive, and you come down, and when you come up over that crest and you can see the town,
dude,
you get goosebumps. You're like, and everyone else is in their car and their vision of like what they like in cars,
and the people that are on the sidewalk, like, oh shit,
and you're sharing your exhibit of what your vision is for cars,
and you're parking it next to extremely top tier builds,
exactly,
and it's just another.
It's a good feeling, like because I mean, and you're halfway there from where I was, but pulling up into Helen or pulling down into Helen from New Hampshire was like the payoff was like
because you go through hell every single time you drove down there. So like, I can't wait to fulfill that vision and have that under my belt, because like last year I just had the moped, which was sick.
Oh, it's a good time nonetheless.
But to have a freshly built car on my favorite wheels in my favorite color, and the whole story leading up to it, I'm
looking forward to it, man. We'll end with that because next month, because I've got a lot of work to do to get this project out from California and get done. There's some fabrication to be done. There's like a plan for this car. It's going to be the same deal. Rolling into Helen.
It's going to be beautiful.
And being 2.5 hours away, I'm going to drive it. You know, bringing the 700 and the 2F Polo from New Hampshire. The last 2 years, I trailered it. But
smart.
But driving this car into Helen it's going to be the same feeling.
Yeah, dude.
And so I'm really looking forward to it.
Eat some pretzels.
I'm hoping, barbecue and pretzels. I'm looking forward to rolling down Edelweiss on the floor, skating, and
I can't wait. And then hopefully shouts to Chromatic. So he's coming, but
that's right. You said that.
He's got a big plan for his E34 touring that I won't say out loud on the podcast because that's just probably going to be out before he does it. But pretty much the dream plan here is he also has Futuras for this car, and he just put brand new broadways on the car. The car's beautiful. It's I think it's a France import E34 touring, Hellrot, extremely clean, and pretty much his plan is trailer that car down to Helen, and then what I just described about me coming down the mountain with my Futuras chopping.
He'll be with you.
I'm gonna look. I'm gonna look to my left. I'm gonna look in my mirror, and my boy Chromatic gonna be in the mirror in his touring with his Futuras chopping, and we're both gonna be coming down.
Yeah. Good vision.
I'm there, bro.
Good vision.
I'm there. Hey, and if he can't bring the whip, it doesn't matter because he's just gonna be in my passenger seat. And
we're
both gonna be whipping regardless. But I want to see my boy shining next to me.
Yeah, that'd be great.
I'm excited as hell, man.
Heck
but I guess that's a good end note. So I got a 10-hour drive home. It would have normally been 8 hours, but I gotta go pick up a stoplight.
Yeah, shout out to that guy.
Yeah, shouts. I think his name's Gregory.
So funny.
Yeah, I'm not gonna go off on that tangent, but pretty much he's got a custom stoplight for me now. I'm gonna hang up in my
traffic light. Traffic light.
Yeah, traffic light. So
you'll see it.
Yeah, I'm excited for that. But
well, this has been awesome, man. I'm glad we took the time to do this.
I know.
I mean,
I don't even care what time is it.
We're 2 hours.
2 hours. Yeah, see, that's fine.
We're 2 hours in. This is good. I mean, I would have gone forever. We're burnt. You got to do a drive.
Yeah, I got 10 hours. I'm gonna be home at like 2 a.m. That's fine. I'm on night owl.
What's the Instagram? Aidan
AIDANMT. It's kind of like Aidan Mountain.
And it's also Aidan Templin on YouTube, right?
Yeah, it's just my name, Aidan Templin.
Yeah, TEMP.
You know, my boy will put the links in the description.
Oh, it will be. Oh, for sure. Yeah, for sure. And I mean, and all the YouTube stuff is great. It's like cinematic. It's all detail work. So if you like, this is where we're talking.
Yeah, this is If you want to hear me talk, you come here. If you go to my YouTube, I don't talk unless I can't fit text onto the video. So.
I do talk on my YouTube episodes.
Yeah, but that's fine. And it's fine.
But my YouTube's been this in a visual format since I haven't had this since last June. So hit Aidan up, subscribe to his YouTube, subscribe to my YouTube. That's John Ludwick. Instagram, same, Ludwick's Garage.
Yeah, and shouts to John for letting me, invade his space.
It's been awesome. Detailing the car.
Man,
detailing the car.
Sick.
Doing this was all great. Riverside 7 was the
phenomenal.
Biggest. Great weather, the biggest turnout he's had yet.
Yeah.
I was anchored to the booth all day, but huge shout out to everybody that came by the booth and just either hung out and talked or bought merchandise. I mean, I cannot thank you guys enough for all the support. Yeah. You guys are why I keep doing this. This is a lot of work. It's a ton of work.
Worth it though.
It's worth it. I mean, to have people come up and even just compliment the setup or the cars. I mean, it's a ton of work doing everything.
And when people can see the effort too, and they acknowledge that, it feels good too.
It's hard seeing that yourself through your own lens when you get your head down the whole time.
Yeah,
you're just looking at
tunnel vision.
You're looking at like there's not enough hours in the day, and I'm not getting anything done. And then to have somebody like notice your hard work and
acknowledge it is really nice. And I had a lot of people come up to me yesterday as well. Same deal, just congratulating me on the shop, or just words of encouragement. It was nice. It's crazy every time.
It means it is the flame that keeps my motivation
and
there,
it's like,
for sure.
It's people will sometimes be like, oh, I don't want to take up your time or anything, but it's like, no, like
my buddy Devin
feels good, man.
My buddy Devin with the Honda 600 that was parked at my booth. Like he'd say that a few times. Like, I know you're busy, because I'd be like, oh, sorry to get back to you. It's like, no, I know you're busy. I'm like, no, that's not my excuse. I'm glad that you noticed that, like, I've bit off more than I could chew.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's great being able to like kind of focus in on the people that are motivating you, and kind of reciprocate that, and even my girlfriend said the same thing. She was just like, it's awesome seeing you take the time to talk to these people. I said, I'm only doing this, one, because I love it, first and foremost, because I love it, but second, the people that enjoy what you're doing, and they motivate you to like keep going.
It's crazy.
They're the friend community that aren't in your close friend group that you see every day.
Yeah.
So in my opinion, sometimes that's even more valuable, when these people that you don't communicate with on the regular are like excited about what you're doing and excited for you for the things that you're accomplishing. And it's huge. Yeah. It's huge. And that's the only reason why we're sitting here with this now, because this is a lot of work. This takes a lot of work. I'm tired.
On your end.
Like, so, yeah, exactly.
I mean, to sit here and talk my shit and leave.
But I love this, because then I can edit this, get it up, and people can listen to this as many times as they want.
And I'm excited because people have been bugging both of us to do this again, because
and this
they
wasn't like
the last one so
we're
much.
just as exhausted, but this wasn't as like late night like laugh fest as it was before.
Oh, it was so bad.
It was good. It was good. So
everybody that talks about the last one, I'm like, well, I'm glad you liked it, because that was a shit show.
It was hilarious.
I don't think it helped that Corey was there, because every time I look over, I see him giggling, and it gets me going.
It was good.
Everybody loved it though. It was hilarious. It was so funny. But
I don't remember what number it was, but if you haven't heard or listened to that episode, go back in the episodes and find the first episode with Aidan.
Yeah, I think you could just type in LUDWICK'S podcast, Aidan Templin, and it'll
come up.
Yeah.
Well, dude, we'll get you on the road.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you so much for doing this, and for all the help helping me get the podcast studio set up.
Want to see everybody shining.
Helen, Georgia, it's gonna be here too quick,
dude. I'm so excited. It's
gonna be good.
That's what I do when I see Henry. Ooh, I get to see Henry tonight.
Yeah. Wow.
Oh, wow. I forgot.
The cute aggression to his cat.
Oh, he probably thinks I went to college.
Probably.
Oh, man. I get to come home and shake him. Okay. Yeah, this is sick.
Well, we'll end on that note.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for listening. We'll see you in the next episode.
Sure. Yeah.
All right. Peace out.
Peace out. Ooh, I can't wait to see Henry. Wow,